Vitti transferred in from Mesa Community College before last season. He ends up losing the quarterback battle. He's now got another one against Miles Kendrick, who played a little bit more in 2018, actually, than 2019. But outside of that, I mean, you know, you got a 3-star freshman in Jelon Daniels. He's from California, but there's not much there. Until proven otherwise, I'm sorry, Lawrence, there's just not much there. So there's our Big 12 quarterback rankings as a unit. That's an important note, as a unit, not individual. As we head into the 2020 Big 12 football season, I'm Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports Weekly, part of HeartlandCollegeSports.com. We've got a Week 1 announcement. Kickoff times came down this week. Also, what's the Big 10 going to do? It's all coming up right here on Heartland College Sports Weekly. So this week, we also got kickoff times for the Big 12 in Week 1 of the college football season. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports Weekly, part of HeartlandCollegeSports.com. Great to be here with you. And we are starting off the Big 12 football season next week on a Friday night. TCU taking on SMU on Fox. This is great, by the way. I'm glad they moved this game to Friday night because, let's be honest, those games next weekend for Week 1, it's not a great slate of games, right? It's not a great slate of games. It's FCS opponents, mostly non-power fives, which is fine. I mean, that's how it's got to be this year. But the TCU-SMU game, I'm glad that one's back on the schedule. I'm glad that both programs came together and got that thing done. It is good for both programs. It's good for the sport. It puts TCU-SMU in prime time on Friday night. And don't forget, SMU's got a good team, all right? I mean, this is not SMU of a few years ago. Sonny Dykes got himself a good
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
All 4 of those lost starters were drafted in the first 4 rounds of the NFL. Look out! Hurts hit from behind. Ball is loose, and it's picked up by Baylor. Now Bernard has the ball. James Lynch knocked it out.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Here's Elliott. He's got it for the touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Now on 1st and down, Charlie Brewer taking the shot down the field, and he's got his man Thornton for the catch.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Too good to be true this week had been too good to be true. And you think about this, there are going to be flare-ups when it comes to COVID, but then you all of a sudden throw a hurricane in and you think about families that flee down south in Louisiana, headed up north to Ruston, staying with some of their children who are football players or a part of the Louisiana Tech football program, some who live off the campus, apartments, houses, whatever. And the next thing you know, Louisiana Tech went from having 1 positive test in about a month to having now 38. We're going to have 2 guys that have covered Louisiana Tech. We've had them on when the game was announced about a month ago. Corey Diaz at 4:30, Ben Carlisle. I was on his show last night. And we spoke for 20 minutes or so about football, about La Tech, about Baylor. And then an hour later, he was at practice last night when he saw some things started to act and unravel, and he'll give us kind of a timeline of what happened. Now, what's next for Baylor? 2 options. Have a hell of a big-time, full-time scrimmage, close it to the public, and or you find somebody to play next week. And I know one coach just sent me a text. We're hoping and praying we have an opponent for next week.
We'll see. That would seem to me to be really tough logistically to do. But, again, logistics are kind of out the window in the old style and in 2020 with COVID-19. I think it really sucks that the game got canceled. And, I guess the bright side of this one is this wasn't Louisiana Tech just throwing a bunch of ragers and stuff like that. They get hit by a hurricane. Their circumstances changed. What are they supposed to do? Turn their families away or stay in a place without power and running water for a couple days? I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, it was kind of unavoidable if you think about it.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack from this. I mean, first of all, I was looking around at stuff, and all of a sudden that tweet came across from, I think it was like Pete Thamel or somebody like that, and I sent it to you guys. And tell the audience what your reactions were when you got that text, because I'm curious, too, just because it was so out of nowhere.
I initially didn't. It's one of those things where you read it, you don't even, you don't comprehend it. It was real simple, like 5 or 6 words. And then I went, well, I can't repeat what I said.
Yeah, I was just...
Because I've been in game week mode. I really have. It's been fun to have that. It's been fun to get 3 weeks into high school football season with some flare-ups, and it was nice to be able to know that we had the first game to cover. We'll get to know a little bit about Baylor and La Tech, and here we are.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but I was having a little back and forth with a guy last night. I think it was Stan that I was going back and forth with, and he brought up, initially he's like, well, I mean, Ruston's like this far away from where like a lot of the epicenter was and things like that. But I went Googling around and Ruston got nailed. I mean, Ruston got absolutely nailed. There's still people there a week plus later without power. I mean, can you imagine? We barely survived 2 days in California without air conditioning. I mean, we would not do well in a week's worth of no power. So yeah, it's created a mess, and unfortunately, it's made this virus, move around quite a bit throughout that community, and the football team's been affected. So Baylor had to do what they had to do with canceling the game, and it's what's next, and that's what the response has been from every player and coach I've seen in response
Absolutely.
to this.
It's what they've been taught. They've been programmed to do that. And again, one coach said, listen, we're hoping and praying there's a game next week. They want to play somebody else. I don't care who it is. And by the way, anybody, quite, to the point where you just want to play a game.
They want Bama.
Before you Kansas. And there are some options out there. And by the way, our Daily Bears did a great job in kind of summarizing teams that don't have a game next week, and then teams that can't play Baylor from the Big 12 or the SEC or conferences that aren't playing. And it came down to a couple of teams based on elimination. East Carolina and Florida International. Now, whether or not they're even on the radar or not, I've heard the name, just throw it out there. This is not anything that has come from an official at Baylor. One of the names that we heard could be, Houston Baptist. I don't know that. I just know that those are some of the options. And I know Mac Rhodes, who joins us on Tuesdays, remember, was not available yesterday. Now we know why, because he was probably hearing some of the chatter. Because this apparently was within 2 days or so, Louisiana Tech players knew that there was an issue. They actually met, and we'll have Ben Carlisle on at 3:15. They had just wrapped up a team meeting at 7 o'clock, went onto the practice field to practice. At the team meeting, they were told all things are green light. Mm-hmm. 30 minutes into practice or so, give or take 10 minutes, they got shut down.
Guess they got those test results back about 30 minutes in.
He said they were like a bunch of guys with blank faces.
I wonder if that's somebody getting a phone call and then you send somebody who's running. Like, I have this like very Aaron Sorkin movie like vision in my head of like, all right, let's go practice, and then you're out there and they're going through their little warm-ups and everything, and then like there's just some guy comes chugging on, it's like, shut it down.
Yeah, I've been watching Turn, which is a really great series. It's been over for a few years, but it's on the American Revolution and American spies and things. And I just think of like somebody sending a courier, like send the courier, and a young man just takes off sprinting, into the woods to go, alarm people.
I guess there's somebody at football practice is going to get a text message or a call like, hey, you got to do this. And then somebody's got to walk up to Skip Holtz and say, hey, coach.
Shut it down.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that was pretty out of nowhere, but I have been very impressed by that what's next mentality. I mean, Terrell Bernard was tweeting it out, and Joey McGuire pretty much immediately was like, what's next? Sean Bell was really within 5 minutes of the announcement, he's like, all right, what's next? And
you can't let what happened linger. It's like you can't let a loss end up making two, or a kicker that misses a field goal, or somebody gets burned for a touchdown pass. You got to move on.
And I don't know how many people wanted to hear it last night, but I tried to play Mr. Brightside a little bit and just threw out there because, the easiest thing to do is to be negative right now in regards to anything. I mean, like the easy thing to do is to be negative. We've got so much ammunition to work with, but it's a little bit harder to be positive. And I looked at this as, via my tweet, this is a couple extra weeks of practice for a team that didn't have spring ball. So I look at it that way. I know that might not be a couple extra weeks because, as you're saying, they might get an opponent or they're working on potentially doing that. But still, it's another extra week of ball. So, it should be beneficial, but I know that's not really what people care about.
So 38 tests, or 38 positive tests, and not know exact details. We'll have that from Ben Carlisle. Again, he was at practice when it was shut down. He and I traded text messages back and forth last night. Baylor was in a team meeting, and a coach tells me when they find out that the game had been canceled, that they had, in his opinion, just had their best practice of fall camp. And we're in a team meeting, and then they get the word the game had been canceled.
Well, go ahead, Paul.
That's just a dagger.
Yeah.
Because you can't just get those practices back. I mean, not that they're not going to have other great practices, but when something's gone well. You know when you're ready to go. And then you can't – it's not like there's just a button on the wall that says good practice today, bad practice today.
Yeah, and then I just think of, all the effort that's been put into watching La Tech game tape and – what they do on offense and what they do on defense and all the studying that you're doing. The practice, you got to practice. So, the practice is going to happen regardless, but, the way you practice or how you're practicing or what schemes you're really focusing on in practice, are different if you're preparing for somebody. So, now with no opponent on the horizon for a couple weeks, but working on one potentially, I guess they kind of have to, I don't know what you do. I don't know if you start working on Kansas or if you – just work on generalities.
I would think, and Mac Rhodes, like I said, normally with us Tuesdays, then he said, can we do Thursdays to this week? And now there's a possibility, depending on his schedule, we might even be able to sneak him on at some point. That could be interesting to tell us what he has to say. I think what you do is I think you clear it. Your next person on the schedule is Kansas.
Right.
And maybe gives you a chance to clean up a little bit. Maybe it will change the depth chart spot or whatever you want to call it in the next few days. Also, you want another kick in the nuts? Sure. Other than I thought it was our best practice. Kansas State now will play Arkansas State at 11 o'clock Central on Fox.
Yeah, that
didn't take long.
No, that was one of the downsides was you had the big noon game on this first big weekend of college football, and now you're off the schedule, and a fellow Big 12 team replaces you and gets that spotlight. So
here's another thing. Skip Holtz on his Twitter feed. Congratulations. This happened this morning. Congratulations to our 5 captains.
Well, I guess it didn't change.
No. Cody Russi, and then all of a sudden, and what a more surreal is all of a sudden Louisiana Tech tweets out that their big, huge equipment 18-wheeler was headed down to Lake Charles to send some supplies, which puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
So,
again, I think fans can be, if this was one of those things hey, Louisiana Tech hasn't had good procedures or protocols, or, there's a gigantic back-to-school party over, right when that happened, and then you have that. That's not this. This is people were in a situation, and,
there were clusters. There were families, and all of a sudden, when one kid or 2 players or maybe 3 in a house, now all of a sudden there's 15.
The easiest, having been through so many of them growing up, the easiest hurricane you'll go through, the one that, you stay home for the day and watch movies and play Monopoly with your family, still throws you off for about 2 or 3 days in your week, just the city that you're in.
Yep.
So, just move that up for each category that it gets worse. And, it's just going to happen.
Oklahoma State's athletic department eliminated 10 positions, will not fill 9 others. 66 employees will be furloughed. Another 151 will have their salaries reduced by 2.5% to 25%. Every head coach and AD Mike Holder took voluntary pay cuts. The moves will save OSU about $13 million. So we've seen Texas Tech save about $5 million.
Yeah.
Texas was in the $20 or $30 million, and Oklahoma State at around $13 million.
Can I address one story real quick? That I'm seeing
Ben Carlisle, the next segment. Go ahead.
So before anybody starts freaking out about Kansas, there's this guy by the name of Sam Lance. I guess he works for the KU school newspaper. And this is, folks, this is Twitter in a nutshell. He puts out a tweet. Kansas Department of Health and Environment identifies KU football as active COVID-19 cluster. There are 14 confirmed cases. Okay, so that's to take note of. 63 retweets, 70 likes, 12 replies. His follow-up tweet from 5 minutes ago, KU Athletics has not replied for clarification, but they have confirmed only 3 cases are active. So everybody loses their mind over 14 players, and then the reporter actually clarifies that it's 3. So before people start freaking out, because I've already seen a couple of Baylor fans going, oh no, read all of what this guy has to say, because the bad news is going to get the most attention, and that's when it's going to come across your timeline the most, but that's not actually the truth. It's a bit misleading, like most of what we see on Twitter.
All right, so that's all of that. Now, how did all this go down? When this week did La Tech know this could be a problem? We'll have Ben Carlisle. He'll join us, and then also he's on Tech Bleed, whatever it's called.
Bleed Tech Blue.
Bleed Tech Blue. And then we'll get also perspective from Corey Diaz, who writes for the News Star newspaper in Ruston. In between all that, high school coaches today from both Connolly and La Vega. How does La Vega change everything up with Ava Rawls out for what could be a long time with that broken arm? We discussed that with Don Hyde, Shane Anderson, and Connolly trying to bounce back as they take on Springtown. Also today, John Machota, Cedric Golden of the Austin American Statesman on UT, and Owen Buchanan of TexAgs.com will be a part of our show, and much more, including Jerry Rome on Brian Piccolo at 4 o'clock today, and the possibility of a couple of others. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI. You want to try to figure out why something hurts more than just kind of a, soreness? If something feels like it's, just painful. And it may be not painful, but it hurts. And it hurts more than just if you take a couple of Advil or Tylenol. Something that might be pulled more off the bone than just pulled. Something that might be broken. Something that might be torn. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace can help you with all of that. They are part of this community, a part of the Waco, Texas, and Central Texas community. Their goal, bringing down the cost of health care, maintaining high quality, which they do, because they have state-of-the-art technology and specialists with their MRI machine that is in their office, their business, their building, inside the Central Texas marketplace. They offer premium MRIs, just like a hospital, state-of-the-art technology, and you'll pay less. And sometimes thousands of dollars less. I remember one time, and it was like 2 or 3 years ago, I went to get an MRI on my neck. It cost me like $1,700, and I wasn't ready for that. And no matter if you have money or not, that's a stunning thing when they say you have to prepay that. I almost walked out the door, and I'm not saying it wasn't because of the money. It didn't help. But Ideal MRI is going to help you, no hidden cost, and most, if not all of their MRIs, in fact, all of them under $500. Saving you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Every single time you go there, you hope you don't have to. The price is not going to be something that raises as the days go by and you get something in the mail. Dr. Rob Maxey and the great techs and specialists there, and that MRI machine that can handle anything and anyone. And doctors know about them, so if you have an MRI that's brought up in a meeting with a doctor, ask them about Ideal MRI, idealmri.com.
Let's face it, some people just like driving around in the nude. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters to talk about those truck owners that know they have naked trucks but simply don't care. You'll hear them saying something like, I'm just driving around free and easy, nothing constricting me. Gross. But there is something that can entice almost any naked truck owner. Leather. I mean, they kind of go together, right? And Pickup Outfitters is an authorized dealer and professional installer of cat skin leather seats. So I'm asking you to do your part and help us end truck nudity. The next time you're near your naked truck owner friend, you can say something like, you know what would really be sexy on your truck? Leather. And they'll get that sly smile, and you know you've hit them in their weak spot. Pickup Outfitters installs factory matching leather kits or custom kits in just about any color combination for your truck or even car. It's the sexy thing to do. You can be part of the problem, or you can create a commotion with cat skin leather seats at Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
What season is it? It's truck season at Allen Samuels. Ram trucks are raring to go, ready to work and play, and all feature the best deals of the year during Ram Power Days. Come get your brand new Ram Lone Star at Allen Samuels with 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $9,250 in bonus cash and incentives. Ram, the highest pickup owner loyalty in America. Shop, apply, buy online. We deliver. Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi. Great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco. House-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
So it's interesting. Last night, about 7 or so, for about 20, 30 minutes, probably longer than they wanted to hear me, I was on a station that covers Louisiana Tech football. And Ben Carlisle, who we've had on the show before with Bleed Tech Blue, was on, and we were talking football, X's and O's, players, depth chart, experience, and whatever else. And everything was great. And then maybe an hour later, well, we heard the news. Ben Carlisle joins us again on Sikkim 365 Radio. So, Ben, what's been the reaction, or what's been the mood around Ruston today?
Yeah, I would say, obviously last night when we were talking, I think we were getting pretty jacked up. We were ready for the season to get here on Saturday to see a pretty fun matchup between two good football teams. But just an hour later, we learned about the postponement. And then, throughout the rest of the evening last night and into this morning and now to the afternoon, you kind of just can feel kind of that letdown. You're really looking for the season. We've been waiting all summer. We're really ready for collegiate sports to get back and get going. And ultimately, for Louisiana Tech and for Baylor as well, we're going to have to wait another couple of weeks, and it's unfortunate. And, hopefully from Louisiana Tech side of things, they can get some things figured out and get back on the field September the 19th.
Is that feasible, September the 19th?
Yeah, I think so. Right now, we actually just got off of a press conference with Coach Holtz, and he said that, coming into that Baylor game, they had about 47 guys that were going to be eligible to play, and 9 of those guys were going to be specialists in kickers, or specialists in quarterbacks. So they were definitely limited from a number standpoint, but he expects that 8 to 10 guys will be back on Saturday with another 20 guys potentially back on Tuesday. So they're hoping to add 30 guys, get to around 70, 77 guys for the Southern Miss game on the 19th in Hattiesburg. But as we've seen, things can change in a hurry, and Tech does have to go, I think, through 4 more testing processes before that game can be played.
So when the news broke, I think what really was enlightening to a lot of people was just how bad the town of Ruston got hit. And for those of us obviously not there, and the news cycle, you know how that goes. Sometimes something gets a lot of attention, they move on to the next thing. I don't know how well Louisiana's damage has been covered, but can you kind of try to explain for everybody out there what it's been like over the last week and a half or so?
Yeah, it was extremely difficult to deal with, and I think that's the big thing. Like you said, it kind of got overlooked a little bit. You know, the southwest part of the state obviously got hit the worst, and, you know, I think it was the first time a true hurricane has came through Ruston. And, you know, we had the tornado come through about 18 to 20 months ago, and that wasn't necessarily as widespread as this was, but it was a long day, the day that it went through on Thursday, and then, you know, we all lose power. I think 95% of the town lost power. I know me and my family, we're about 10 or 15 minutes from campus, and we were without power for around 72 hours. I know many of the players, some were without power for 7 to 10 days. I think that was about 50 guys that live off campus. The guys on campus were able to keep their power as the university had power, but it just resulted in a bunch of different players having to figure out different places to go. Coach Holtz mentioned that players were sleeping on couches. Some guys were staying up at the field house. Just trying to get in some air conditioning because it's been so hot outside. And we're not used to dealing without the power in this time of a year. But it was definitely a rough storm, and the biggest thing was losing electricity for as long as we did.
So you and I spoke back and forth a little bit as the night progressed after the decision came down. And one of the things, you were able to be at practice, I guess, last night. And what was the mood? They had a team meeting, and then they're told, let's go, and they go on the practice field, and I guess it's shut down. What was that like?
Yeah, it was a different experience, as you can imagine. And I think, you know, Coach Holtz just talked about that a little bit in the press conference to try to clear some things up. And really his main message to the guys before they headed out to the practice field was, guys, you know, obviously we're limited in numbers. We really don't necessarily know where things stand, but we have to continue to prepare like we're going to be on the field. So let's go out here. Let's get together for 30, 45 minutes. Let's run around, you know, in shorts, not necessarily doing a ton of team things, but let's get out here and practice a little bit and try to keep our bodies moving around, try to keep the guys upbeat, because I think that's the big thing that sometimes gets overlooked with all these college kids. They want to be on the field. You know, at the end of the day, they want to play football. And you know, they wrap up practice, and obviously they share them with the dudes. And there's not a whole lot of details, you know, once it really goes down in that exact moment that Holtz is able to share with his team. So he talked about that a little bit today as well, and now he hasn't been able to meet with his guys since. But the general sense I get is the guys are pretty down. Like I told you last night, they want to play football just like, you know, any other collegiate athlete does across the country. And it's just an unfortunate event, you know, something that we certainly didn't anticipate happening.
So when did this start to become a murmur or simmering? Because it seemed like, based on just the last, not 24 hours, but the last 12 to 18 hours, that this was a concern. Mack Rhodes, the AD at Baylor, normally joins us on Tuesdays and wanted to push it back to Thursday. So that kind of, it seemed like maybe he knew there was something going on. How long ago do you think they started to realize this was a problem?
Yeah, as far as the cancellation, talking about canceling or postponing the game, I think that really on Sunday that conversation really started to enter the fray and started to get discussed more seriously. I know going back to the middle part of last week into Saturday, we could see at practice that the numbers were starting to dwindle a little bit, but there were still 60, 70 guys out there. But then as more and more tests started coming in and more guys either got taken off the field for positive tests or contact tracing, I think that's when they seriously had to start discussing what they were going to do for this upcoming weekend. And at the end of the day, like I said, with 5 specialists and 4 quarterbacks as your, you know, part of your group of 47, you're really thin on the offensive and defensive lines. I think that was the biggest concern for Tech, was just not having that depth, especially in a year like 2020 when we haven't had the normal summer conditioning. You really don't know the true kind of game shape that most teams are going to be in early on.
You mentioned the overall mental health of the team and how this drags on. How do you, in a week, maybe get them to bounce back? Like, what do you do if they don't have a game next week?
But that's going to be a big question. I think, Holt talked today that, they're not going to practice today. They hope to get back in the building Friday, Saturday, start prepping for Southern Miss on Sunday night. But it's tough to keep guys, focused on playing college football with so many different distractions, whether it's the social justice issues, all the COVID things. I know Tech starts school tomorrow as well. So there's just so many different things that these guys are having to deal with. And, you look at the normal collegiate athlete, and I know I was a baseball player, which isn't necessarily as structured as football might be, but these guys are so much creatures of habit and how they go about their business, especially in season. It's almost down to the minute on how things go and throughout fall camp, and it's just not like that right now. And so they're going to have to adjust on the fly. I know things can change by the hour, as we've seen, but it's going to be a tall task for them to get ready to go to Southern Miss on September the 19th and, be able to play and win a conference football game, that's just, 10 days away from that right now.
Yeah, it's disappointing, man. We were breaking it down. We were talking depth charts and guys who might step up, and Craig sends us a text on our group text, Craig here, and I was like, oh my God. But I appreciate you last night because, Ben, I'm telling you, you were all over this from the time of what happened. You were at practice all the way through what might have been going on. And so that's great that we were able to lead off our show with your insight today. Good luck moving forward. Good luck with the damage and getting through everything in Ruston, in that area. And thanks for your time.
Absolutely, fellas. Y'all have a good one, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
I hope so. That's Bleed Tech Blues, Ben Carlisle at B Carlisle 37 on Twitter, at Bleed Tech Blue also on the Twitter feed. So Skip Holtz today in a press conference or whatever it was told the media they had 47 available players, 9 of them a combination of quarterbacks and specialists. He then mentioned that he hoped that 8 to 10 of those players who are out will be cleared by Saturday and perhaps 20 others by next Tuesday. But still 4 levels of COVID testing between now and when they play against Southern Miss.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to get done. I don't know how next week happens. I really don't.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. That's for them to sort out, and I'm not sure either, but he doesn't seem to be too worried about it, and I guess the vibes coming from Skip Holtz today were positive enough that he has that feeling. So wish La Tech the best. I think that was going to be a really great game to open the season. A great opponent, and boy, Baylor's non-con, their best non-con in years, just continues to get torn to shreds.
The best non-conference opening game since they were hammered by TCU that went on to win the Rose Bowl. Great team with Andy Dalton, who just embarrassed Baylor in Fort Worth. And really, you could throw Duke in there a couple of times because at times David Cutcliffe's teams are good.
Yeah.
But other than that,
well,
that's the best game that they've had in a decade.
I bet you if you looked at
non-conference game.
I bet you if you looked at this, like half the time teams think they're going into the year with a great non-conference schedule. Now, granted, this one is unprecedented of, not getting to play them because of a pandemic, but a lot of times you'll have a great non-conference schedule, you think, when you start, and then you play the first game, and, well, that team certainly lost a lot from last year. You get to the third one, and all of them are bad, and then at the end of the year, they're like, well, they didn't play anybody. Well, they tried.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes that's college football.
But there is a difference, at least on paper, in the names. Even if La Tech turns out to be a 2-win team and Ole Miss is a 3-win team, it still looks better to just see Ole Miss and La Tech versus Incarnate Word. And,
No, I know. And I don't know. I threw out the name. Somebody said, so are you saying it's going to be Houston Baptist? No, what I'm saying is I don't care who they play. If I'm Baylor, I want to play somebody. Just play somebody.
Well,
and I mean, you're not going to throw out. You're not going to play like a Division II team. But then again, because some of them are shut down. But if you're going to play a game, it's a lot better to play somebody else that's going to test you because they want to beat you. Than even if you're better than who you might play in non-conference, you've been playing against each other now and bounding against each other now, and you're almost bored with it for the last month.
Yeah, and with Houston Baptist, one comment I saw quite a bit last night was, oh my gosh, it's all falling apart already. And, the panic people, they love to panic. But one comment I did see throughout some of those panic tweets was, oh my gosh, the Big 12 schedule is going to be so disrupted. But no, I mean, we're going to be into a period here pretty soon where all these teams are testing the same. I mean, granted, Lincoln Riley is going to be a little more shadowy about it than others, obviously. But, everybody's going to be testing at the same level. So I think once they get into Big 12 play, it should not be as much of a concern, and things should be a bit more in order. But in deciding to play that one non-conference game, this was the risk that you ran, was that you don't have control over La Tech, and you don't have control over these other non-con teams. They're not under your jurisdiction. And so, a hurricane came into play too. I mean, let's not forget that. So I'm not worried about the season because I think Big 12 teams will be fine going up against one another. Not to say there won't be a cancellation here and there, but the testing will be at a premium level across the board.
Yeah, and someone just asked me about East Carolina. Baylor has an opening non-conference game. It must be at home. Remember, that's the Big 12 bylaws. You can play a non-conference game. It must be a home game.
Yeah.
And so East Carolina is somebody I brought up, but they can't. I don't think that's going to be possible that they'll travel to play anywhere.
Well, I mean, think about if you're East Carolina, you have to book hotel rooms and
flights.
It's not like they can just take La Tech's hotel rooms because it's for a different week.
Right.
So it's like you can call them and be like, hey, can you get here this week? And we've already got the rooms, and you can take their food and just change the name on the credit card and charge it to a different school. That's not how it is. There's logistics involved in this. I would think that anybody they played would have to come from pretty close by.
That's why Houston Baptist makes sense.
Yeah, and somebody brought up last night SMU because they were supposed to play TCU, and I don't know how that works out. SMU's already given up a home game to play in Fort Worth. It's 80 miles south. It'd be a hell of a game.
You would need hotel rooms.
Yeah.
You'd need some food. I mean, obviously you'd have to have some food catered in.
And that's if they want to do it. That's if either one. And so Mac Rhodes is on. They're blowing up the lines, and I would not be surprised if there's a possible at some point that they end up with somebody next week. But there's a lot of logistics, as you guys are saying. It's not just saying, yeah, we'll play. It's not like, for example, I've been on the phone, as you guys both know, with a couple of high school coaches in 4A, and they're maybe an hour and a half apart. One all of a sudden might need a game. Another one's really looking for a game. Nobody really wants to play this team, but they're an hour and a half apart. The logistics are simple. They'll probably play in Tyler, or they'll play maybe in Corsicana, or they'll play somewhere, but it's not that difficult for those two to say we'll play Friday, even though Friday's in 2 days.
It's not because you have to. Even for that, it's difficult. You just got to flip it around. So.
Yeah, I think with, like I was saying with the Big 12 and how those teams will all be on the same playing field as far as the testing and things like that go, that it does make the most sense to, bring in a team that can, in theory, drive here, and just ride the buses up here. Or if they have to take a flight, it's like a 30-minute flight. That's much better than thinking like an East Carolina is going to come from halfway across the country and do all of that. So we'll see what they can come up with, if they can come up with anything. I know they're certainly going to try to.
Jeff Blake, of course, is no longer the quarterback at East Carolina, but on occasion they'll rise up and knock somebody out. 3:35 is the time. Want to say Chris Visser, his sister Leslie was one of the original sideline reporters. He's been a guy we've known. I've known Chris now for 20-something years, since basically my second or third Super Bowl at Radio Row. He is kind of almost an associate producer at times with us over the years. Just want to wish him the best as he battles through something. Great guy, a tremendous friend of everywhere I've ever been, and just wanted to shout out to him. Love him to death and hope he's going to be okay. Good luck, Chris. We are thinking about you. It's 3:35, and this is Sikkim 365 Radio. We will have the high school segments with Conley and Shane Anderson bouncing off the loss to La Vega. And then La Vega, as they play Corpus Christi Calallen. And that game, of course, is in between each other. It's in San Marcos or something. And they're now trying to find out who the quarterback will be. Of course, Blaine Nickel, wasn't it? Came in and, his job was to not screw it up and hand off. He played a little bit last year in some blowouts. But there's a good chance you might see one of those defensive backs that are so good. All of them are good. Someone like Jordan Rogers does everything.
Yeah.
Why not maybe even at times run the Wildcat at running back, at quarterback at the safety position as well?
I would love to see Jordan Rogers and those running backs just run a little speed option. That'd be fun to watch.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Nickel did a good job of just doing what he was asked to do last week. He just came in, he handed off to Jarquay Walton and their other backs and just did his job. He didn't fumble the snap. He didn't botch the handoff. He just did what he's supposed to do.
Another high school. Go ahead. High school note.
And the difference in that game really came down to Connolly is a bit of a smaller school. They have less guys. They have more guys that play both ways. And I think at the end of the game, that 3 points difference was really because Connolly had a lot of guys playing both ways, and La Vega can get guys some water.
One of our players of the week this week is Troy running back Zach Robotchik. Also today, he was named as the Built Ford Tough Texas High School Football Player of the Week. In 3A, Belleville running back Richard Reese. They had the big game against Yo. 4A Player of the Week. And then Caden Johnson from linebacker tight end from McCamey was the 2A Player of the Week. I'm on the board of the nominations, also a voter, and these guys had phenomenal games. We know what Robotchik did. I thought Thorndale's Jordan Landrum was very much involved in the 2A with what he did, especially on defense with the 4 picks, 2 touchdown catches, and much more. But Caden Johnson of McCamey gets the nod. This is Sikkim 365 Radio with Craig Smoke and Paul Catalina. And I know there's going to be some setbacks as we go through these next 15 to 25 weeks. I know that. And last night I said, unbelievably believable. And I was asked today when I did a little television hit with Channel 25, I was asked, what did you mean by that? And I don't know what I meant by that other than the fact it's believable that we're going to have some interruptions. And it's unbelievable because we were 4 days away, basically, from kicking off the season. I couldn't wait. And I was going to be at the game, and it was going to be different for us. But God, that was a kick in the gut.
Yeah, it was.
And it's for us because we want to get back into our routine, and we're kind of in that, and we will not slow down with what we do. We're going to go rolling over the next few days.
You think we're going to do 6 months of radio with basically no live sports, and all of a sudden it's here? We're just be like, all right, well, a game got canceled. Let's pack our bags and walk away.
And by the way, Herm Edwards, one of the great segments we will ever have and have had before, is going to be a guest in our show tomorrow. The Arizona State football coach who's as motivational as you could ever imagine. He'll be a part of the show tomorrow. And I keep saying that. J.D. Walton, the former All-American from Baylor, will be a part of our show on Friday. Those are just a couple of names. Yeah, and when I hear about from Mac Rhodes on exactly today or tomorrow, we'll let you know.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard from J.D. Walton in quite some time, so that'll be pretty cool.
Can I tell a story about that?
Yeah, sure.
So I got the number, and I've had this number, and I've tried to get him before, and I've actually seen him a couple of times. So I called a text. What I usually do is I'll call somebody, then I'll follow it up with a text. Hey, this is Smokey, whatever. And I never could get him to respond. So finally, I get the number, cross-check it, and the last number was wrong. So some poor guy is like, listen, I wish they would. Normally somebody would say, hey, wrong number. Okay, sorry, delete the number.
I mean, at least fake Kurt Warner guy had some fun with you.
Yeah, that was the funniest one. He goes, I can be on tomorrow. Yeah, he goes, I can't do this to you. It's not Kurt Warner. But so I have hundreds of these numbers, and so I text JD, and boom, he responds to me like in 5 seconds. I went, oh my God, I got the right number, and we'll have him on Friday's show.
What's he doing now?
He is coaching at Centennial High School in Frisco.
Okay.
He just had a baby boy like a week ago.
He was doing firefighting, right?
No, that was
Watkins.
Yeah,
Danny Watkins.
I'm getting the W's confused there.
Yeah, that was Danny Watkins. I'm sure he's still firefighting.
Mac Rhodes will join us today at 5:20.
Sweet.
Mac Rhodes today will join us at 5:20. So we're going to shuffle a couple of things around here between now and that particular time. I want to read this. I know, Paul, we got the high school segment. I've been trying to get to it.
You have three minutes to read it.
Kurt Bowles had this. Earl Campbell. He was asked about the Eyes of Texas. Remember, so many wanted that thing taken out. And Texas, basically, they dug their heels in. They gave in on some stuff, but they dug their heels on this. I think that would have been a huge, like almost a border war in a way with that song. He said, so many other things can be done, other things we need to put our attention on. I'm proud of that song. And that is so Earl Campbell. I had to read that. I saw that, and that's who he is. He knows there's a bigger picture than the Eyes of Texas.
I have the same feeling. You know my feelings about boycotting things.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to boycott something, it better be for a darn good reason, because if you start, you might as well move to a commune, start growing your own food, and eating yak meat, because that's what you're going to have to do. But it's the same thing with, look, the song The Eyes of Texas, the lyrics aren't racist. What they're concerned about is the tune is I've been working at the railroad is racist. Now, if you go back and take every musical lyric that's ever been written by somebody that might be a piece of garbage, then again, go live on a commune, get yourself a theremin, and knock yourself out.
Yeah, I find it very interesting that a guy like Earl Campbell, who saw firsthand, in the heat of civil rights, what it was like, is sitting here 30, 40 years later after going through that and all that he faced and saying, you know what, like, it's just a song. I like the song. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But players today who did not live back then, not to say they haven't experienced their own issues. Of course they have. But I think it gives a very unique perspective to me seeing a guy like Earl Campbell say that, and it just makes me realize more than ever that, yes, there are some things that should come down. There are some statues of people like Nathan Bedford Forrest that shouldn't have been standing up until 2020. But a lot of people who are complaining about that statue didn't complain for the last 20 years. And so I'm just saying we can erase everything you want to, but I think he's right. That energy could be so much better spent elsewhere, actually making a difference versus, let's get rid of this song,
It's like we have a Sharpie out and we want to just darken out everything that is a part of what is sometimes evil, but it's also a part of how you learn from history as well.
Right.
When we come back, Don Hyde and Shane Anderson, they both just played each other in a knockdown drag-out Friday, both trying to come back. Shane Anderson and his football team from a game in which they just got worn out, as they have Springtown coming to town, who played in the semifinals against La Vega last week. And Don Hyde in the quarterback position. Blaine Nickel will be very much a part of that mix, but what else can they do? Well, they'll find a way. They always do. Our high school segments with Conley and La Vega. And then Jerry Rome again at 4 o'clock will join us live. Mac Rhodes at 520. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. If you have felt lethargic, if you just haven't felt the same, and you just really want to feel better, and there's a lot of ways to do that. You have to eat better. You can exercise. You can sleep better. And sometimes it's a combination of all of that, and then on top of that, no matter what, as you get older, there can be a testosterone problem as well. And Petty Clinic, LowT.com, Dr. Kent Petty, can help you get discounted lab work, your blood taken, look at the results, and then put you in a program to increase your testosterone level and help you become a more highly efficient man, high-performance man you want to be. A special interest in testosterone replacement, offering immediate same-day access for lab screening to help identify men in need. Fatigue, loss of energy, poor sexual performance, ED, loss of interest, all of that. Even weight gain and excess body fat. Low testosterone is common, occurring in 1 in every 3 men. And PettyClinicLowT.com can help you with that. Dr. Petty, a board-certified in primary care, eager to discuss the exciting new wave of comprehensive health care with you in greater detail. PettyClinicLowT.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Bird Culture Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the number one selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culture Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culture Ford, our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week. Locally owned dealership, online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. The annual tent sale's going on right now.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the number one cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Hi, this is Conley football coach Shane Anderson. I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new Sikkim 365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Connolly Cadets football coach Shane Anderson is sponsored by Masonic Construction, Sturdy Steel, American Bank, Graham Properties, Richard Carr Motors, Parsons Roofing, First Central Credit Union, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
When you went back and watched film of what was an old-fashioned knockdown, drag-out, slugfest game, what did you see?
Well, first and foremost, I saw our kids fight for 4 quarters. I think we played extremely hard, and I just think down the stretch, us having more kids going both ways, compared to La Vega was the difference in the game. But, hats off to our coaching staff and our players, for a great effort, against the number one team in the state.
Is there any question when you play a game like that, whether you had won, which gives you more confidence, or not, that you do feel like, you guys have proven yourself the last couple of years, but does that make you better playing them?
Oh, there's no question it does, and that's what we told our kids Monday morning when they reported for practice is, hey, even though we got beat by 3, it was to the number one team in the state and a classification above us. And you've proven to not only yourself and our coaching staff and our school, but, the entire state of Texas that you belong on the field with guys like that. And, 2 or 3 years ago, that was not the case. And so, just super proud of their effort. And like I told them, if we continue to improve as a football team and get better, we're going to get a crack at a number one team again. And this time it'll be Carthage in the playoffs.
All right, there's an 800-pound gorilla with your offense right now. You can't throw the football. You're not effective. It's not even efficient. And so what have you done this week to try to gain some confidence with that?
Well, first of all, we spent a lot of time as a staff this weekend looking at some things that, are high percentage type passes and ways to get the ball in our playmakers' hands, in a quick and like I said, efficient manner. And so we're going to work really hard on that the next couple weeks. Both of these games coming up the next two weeks are going to be quality opponents. It's not going to be easy, but if we want to be the team that we can be, we've got to make an effort to improve on throwing the football, and we're going to do that the next 2 weeks.
Was there kind of a statement made that when it was 4th and 4, the game's on the line, that Kavion was in the Wildcat,
that's you're going to go with him. There's no question he was probably going to touch the football, but is that a statement that was made during that moment?
Yeah, I don't think there was any question, when we came to the sideline, to make a decision on what we wanted to do. We just had to figure out which side we wanted to try to go to, and, you're not going to find a better defense than La Vega has, and so, there's no weak links. Normally in that situation, you try to pick on somebody. There's nobody on their defense to pick on. We just said, hey, we got to man up, put an extra man in there, and see what happens. And, they rose to the occasion. And like I said, I think it had everything to do with, their O-line and D-line were one-way players, and a lot of our O-linemen played both ways. And so, they won that battle. And, at the end of the day, you got to tip your hat to those guys.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com. Sikkim 365 Radio's coverage of Texas high school football is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans for over 50 years. J.D. Power highest customer satisfaction among auto insurers in Texas 9 years in a row.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, this is La Vega head football coach Don Hyde, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke. This is your home for the best high school football coverage in Texas.
This segment with La Vega Pirates football coach Don Hyde is sponsored by American Bank, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Knockdown, drag out. I love the old school type of game. I know you could have played better. I know that Conley could have played better. But in the end, you won the game. Don, your thoughts about just the way your team reacted?
Well, I thought we did what we had to do down the stretch. We were out of character, in my opinion. We did some things that are normally not the way we play football. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was a grudge game or a rivalry game. And, we were able to come in at halftime and settle them down a little bit, but personal fouls and unsportsmanlike conduct stuff, that's unacceptable at La Vega High School. And stuff like that will get you beat in the long run when you get in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs, and we got to clean that up to be better.
Well, Ava Rawls has, of course, won a championship at a quarterback. He was a part of the secondary last year. He's a phenomenal player, great leader, but you lost him to an arm injury. How do you handle that this week as you get ready for Cal Allen?
Well, we just got to move some people around. We've had a backup quarterback all year, and then we've had some guys that are emergency type guys, and so it just means reshuffling the deck a little bit, which every coach has to do at some point during the year. And so we'll reshuffle our deck and see what happens. Your young man Nickel, I thought, considering this is one of those things you could come in. He's a senior. He gave you some leadership, too. It's not like he's going to make too many plays in that situation. But overall, the way he handled and didn't, bobble a snap or cough it up or panic, what are your thoughts about him? Well, Blaine played for us some last year in a mop-up role, and he's been our number 2 since we started the year. We'll look at him some, and we'll also go with some other Wildcat-type looks. Does the fact that the way you play defense allow you to kind of not get through this time because you want to get better at that position with Ara out, but the way you play defense, how much does that help you overcome maybe some losses at times on offense? Well, we do a pretty good job of playing defense at La Vega High School, and, we feel like we don't have to go out there and score 45, 50 points a game to be successful because we play pretty good defense. But at the same time, another reason we play pretty good defense is because our offense don't put us in bad situations. And so it kind of works hand in hand together. A lot of teams are willing to take certain chances when we're not going to. we kind of hang our hats on being conservative and getting first downs. And when that ain't working, we know we can punt the ball and play good defense.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist's office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com. How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Jerry is a great man, a great coach, and one of my very, very good friends. The only thing I could think about Jerry was there was one time, Jerry used to wear a toupee. My wife's laughing as I tell you the story. He used to wear a toupee in practice. So he'd have a hat on with a toupee on.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
About an hour ago, we had Ben Carlisle, Bleed Tech Blue, who was at practice last night when La Tech learned that their practice was being shut down. They would not play Baylor. I gave you the insight a little bit on when Baylor found out about it after one coach told me it was their best practice he thought of the fall in a team meeting. So now Baylor's working on maybe a replacement game. If they can't get that done in the next, we'll say, few hours, day, then there could be just a full-blown scrimmage that's private, closed off from the public this weekend. And as they try to move forward, Baylor Director of Athletics Mac Rhodes will join us today at 5:20 on Sikkim 365 Radio. It was so good. We wanted him back for more. Jerry Rome, we got so much involved in some of the great storytelling that he gave us last week that we forgot to ever get back to his relationship with the late, great Brian Piccolo. And Jerry Rome joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio. Jerry, before we get to that, and I promise we won't lose sight of it, we had Steve Largent on yesterday, thanks to you. And, man, he had all sorts.
Great.
Yeah, he had some great stories about you.
Well, I've got some even better ones about him because he was the one that was the star, you know.
Yep. So let's go back.
Did he? Let me ask you a question. Did he tell you what happened to him the very first day he came in there?
Yeah, when he could not catch anything and he was just.
Oh, it was hysterical. He was terrible. I took a beating, you know, because I'd been bragging on him so much, and but he was worn out. I mean, it was awful. And Houston was not very smart because they were like, you know, they had so many wide receivers, it was crazy. And he told me that he'd line up and he'd stand eight deep in line, and they'd start throwing balls, and he might not get a ball thrown to him the whole day. It's sad.
And he ended up being a sure-handed receiver.
Ended up being okay.
Ever played the game. Now, Jerry, you knew Brian Piccolo incredibly well. Can you kind of go over it? When did you meet him? Tell us kind of how you got to know him.
Yeah, I brought up Brian Piccolo because I had just seen the replay of the movie that Brian song, and that movie was a really good movie about Brian, and it got to the point of the kind of person he was and all that. But they didn't really stay with the facts very well. It kind of floated around, and they made a movie out of a lot of stuff that really was kind of a made up part and all that. They didn't need to do that because there was so much about him that was so down to earth. They could have had a great flick, but anyway, it still was about him, and that's what was important. But we were on the field. And for the North-South Shrine game down in Miami, Florida, and the practice had ended, and so I knew that they had a racetrack. I didn't know which one was running, and I just as the coaches broke up and started heading off, and the players were all there, and I just yelled out, "Does anybody want to go to the racetrack?" And then I yelled again, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around, and it was Brian, and of course I didn't know. I knew who he was, but I didn't really know him. And he goes, "I'll go." And he goes, "I grew up here, so I know all about it everywhere, and I know that Hialeah is running right now, and let's do it." So that started an adventure,
When he got sick and went through all that he went through, obviously that's what the movie is. What was that like from his friend's perspective, having to watch him go through that battle?
Well, he wasn't. I didn't live in the same town, that he lived in, and he was other places. I talked to him, every once in a while on the phone, but the time it got to that point, it was. I wasn't with him or being able to visit with him. My experience with him was all before that, and although I did was I was supposed to have supper with him. I didn't know how much of this had been going on, and he didn't talk about stuff like that, and he was a very quiet guy who didn't lean on everybody and stuff like that. So I wasn't even aware that he'd been that sick. And I was at the time, I was with Cleveland, and I'd already spoke a little bit about, you know, when I came to town, you know, I'd come over to the house, we'd have supper and all that. And so I got in town, and I called his house, and his wife said Brian had to go to New York. And I went, well, and I said, we're playing tomorrow. She said, well, he's been having, this was really early, I guess, when he got sick, because, I mean, I didn't know he wasn't even going to play in the game. So she said he's just been having stomach problem, and they want to have a specialist look at him. So this was when they were first discovering that he had this cancer, you know, and stuff, and I didn't find out until a couple of days later. When he got back, he called me and he just said that I got some problems and I can beat it, but it wasn't a couple of months and he passed on.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable because he was a Heisman finalist. Back in the day, it was different. But when John Hurt of Notre Dame won the Heisman, Piccolo was a top 10 ballot in the Heisman voting. Joe Namath, Gale Sayers were even ahead of behind him in that voting. He was a tremendous player at Wake Forest, and yeah. So,
do you know who came in second in the Heisman that year? Or he missed it by about 20 votes.
Yeah, I do.
Was that you?
Yeah.
I do, and that's why I brought it up, because you were right behind. I mean, John Hewart went to Notre Dame, of course. That's the only reason you didn't win, Jerry, because he went to Notre Dame. He got it. You know how that is, right?
Yeah, I know that, but he had a great year. You know, I'm friends with him, and I've talked to him a few times. I was out in Los Angeles, and he lives out there, and I had supper with him one time. He's a good guy, and you know, he told me, he even was one time when I was coaching for the Arizona Cardinals. Some guy was watching practice, and he said, "You know, John Hewart just lives right around the corner." I went, "Oh, come on." Anyway, he did, and I went over there, and anyway, I got him to come over to practice a couple of times. He was a good guy, and he said, "You know, I'm really, you know, I felt guilty about that," and I said, "You shouldn't be. Y'all were undefeated, and you're the one that took them to the national title and everything." Yep. So it was all right. It was cool.
So where were you when Brian Piccolo passed away? Where were you? How did you find out? When did you get that news?
I think by that time I was in Houston, but I know that when I tried to come see him, and he had gone to New York for specialists, I was at Cleveland, and it wasn't too far away from where he was, and
right.
And I had talked to Joy about coming over for supper and so on, and I mean, I totally didn't know. I totally was shocked when she said that he was in New York to a specialist, and she said he's been having stomach problems. I think this was pretty much when it first started.
Yeah.
And because she didn't act like she knew why he went to New York, and when he came back, I talked to him, and they said they're running tests and stuff, and then all of a sudden everything just got worse. So it was,
you know, in this day,
a great guy.
You brought up a story about, I guess it was Ole Miss in a bowl game, and how they reacted to you, to where you were at the time, and there's also the Brian Piccolo Gale Sayers friendship was one that was about the movie Brian's Song, and about how they became, at the suggestion of a team captain, they both started to room together, and that was what, 1968 or 69, whenever it was, and how much.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking it was his fourth year before he really broke into the backfield and started playing. I was with the Cowboys the first year he was with the Chicago Bears, and we played them in a preseason game, and I'm not sure whether he even made the trip. and so he was kind of hanging on the taxi squad type of thing, and it wasn't about 3 years later that he was, in the backfield playing full time with Sayers,
Yeah, and of course that's part of the story that you almost wish some people could go back and, even though there was some embellished moments in the movie, go back and watch that movie of how those two turned out. Greg?
I don't know that there's a movie I've heard of before where more people have admitted to openly crying and like weeping than that movie. I mean, just over time, I feel like that's a movie I always hear when people say, "What's the saddest movie you've ever seen?" Brian's song always comes up.
Nobody. That movie did not have to be any certain way. It only had to have the theme that it had, which was him being a really great guy, him and Sayers being really close, him being as good as he was through the years, and always being an overachiever, and all that theme. It would have been a great movie, no matter whether it was Joe Blow, but that was him, and it was for real, and that's what made it so great. Was this was really about a real person, but I mean, it was like he was like Superman there, and then he was like then he didn't have anything left. They took all Superman's power was taken away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Just wham,
Yeah,
but the racetrack thing was kind of interesting. The best part about it was when we went to Florida. I mean, when we're down there, we went out there at Acla to Gulfstream a couple of times. Then we said, "Hey, we're going to be in Buffalo. Let's go see the Trotters." Ride the buggies and all that. And so we go, and Joy was there too. She was with him, and so we were up there. This was the next summer from back in the late December. That's when I'd come from the bowl game with Mississippi, and so we were up there in New York, and we go, we got to go to the racetrack, We go, okay, and so we asked some people where a racetrack was, and they go, "Oh, we don't have horse racing." And then we said, "Well, yeah, you do. You got it." And they go, "Oh, yeah, well, we have trotters." And we looked at each other and we go, "Trotters?"
Trotters?
Yeah. And I went, "Hey, Brian, those are the kind that have the buggies that go behind them,
Yeah.
And so it came to the last day and the last race we were there, and I was a little bit down in money, and so I said, "I'm not going to bet this race." He said, "You got to bet this race. You got to. Look at the name of the horse, the trotter that's in this race, Texas Boy. How can you pass that up?" And I said, "I don't play names." And he goes, "All right, forget it." And so anyway, he goes and plays, gets it. He comes back, and so the race starts, and here came Texas Boy, and he's coming from behind, and Brian reaches out and hands me $100 win ticket.
Wow!
He says, "Take it. It's yours." And I went, "No, that's yours." He said, "No, I got one too."
How good is that? That gave me goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, I mean, is that cool? And it paid like $18 to win. I mean, we got back between us. We got about like $1,600 back.
Jeez.
But I mean, I'll never forget that. I said, "No, that's yours. That's yours." He goes, "No, I got one too."
That's a great friend right there.
How did you? Because you can read a racing form, and you can look at a horse and go, "Man, that guy's big and fast and all that." But when they're towing a buggy behind him, how do you bet that? How did you get good at guessing who was good at doing that?
Well, I don't, I didn't go that much to do it. I mean, it's the same kind of principle. You look at both positions, the past things, what they've done. The one thing I've learned other times I've been to the Trotters, if they won the last one, they ain't gonna win the next one. I don't know. It's just like they take turns, but it's a fun, but it's just not the same as thoroughbreds. It's just not the same. We had fun.
Yeah. When you were with the Cowboys, did you play the Bears when Ronnie Bull, the former Baylor All-American.
Yes. I played against. Well, first Piccolo. Well, the very first time all we got back together was I was with the Cowboys in my rookie year. We're playing in Tulsa University. My college is alma mater is there. It was in a large stadium, and so it was like a preseason game. We're going to play the Bears, and so there we were in Tulsa, and so there was Brian, and there was but Brian was in street clothes, and so he had hurt his leg a little bit, and so he goes, I don't know if I'm going to make this team. He was worried about making the team, so he didn't really break into action for maybe 2 or 3 years before he really, ended up being him and what's his name, Gale Sayers, and so it was a little slow coming as far as him, being, that guy in that backfield,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, yeah, Steve Largent was great. Thanks for helping set us up with him, and your storytelling is fantastic. Jerry, one thing I wanted to ask you about all the places you were, where you played and where you coached. Is football no matter what the terminology is, no matter what the calls are, no matter whatever a play might be, I-35, X-14 or whatever, is it all the same no matter where you are?
No. I know what you're trying to say. The plays, the way they're called, all that. That's always going to be different. I mean, because everybody has their own system.
Sure.
But there's a lot. I mean, like Coach Landry, when I came to the Cowboys, he was very, very what's that word? Very. He didn't want to. He was very the word I'm wanting to use is he didn't want to. He didn't even have but one guy split out. He was always in two backs. He just didn't want to. He didn't want to expand, Mm-hmm. And it was so funny because at Tulsa we were running the spread formation. We had guys splitting out. We had guys going in motion. We did all that stuff. And, I mean, we were way ahead of the Cowboys. I mean, they were a two-back, really boring offense. He was Tom was very smart, but he was very mechanical. He based everything on percentages, and if we run this play enough times, it's going to get the proper yardage and stuff like that. And I made the mistake. I was there. This is my second year I was there. And I said, we were in a meeting. We just got back from training camp, and so we were having a meeting. And then he said, "Hang around, Jerry. I want to talk to you." And so I did. And he goes, "You've been working very hard, and I'm going to try to get you into action more and all that." And I said, "Coach, you mind if I say something?" And he goes, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "I probably should have done this, but I couldn't help it." I said, "Why don't we take the flanker and that one that you have in real tight? Why don't we move him out and take one of those backs and move him up in a wing position?" And I mean, I started spreading them out, see. And I said, "Why don't we take the quarterback and put him back in the shotgun?" And he's just sitting there looking at me, and he says, "Jerry, guys," he said, "You know what?" He said, "When you get your team, then you can do that." And I went, "Oh, okay, okay." But you know what? I leave there, and I go to Cleveland, and Roger Staubach comes in, and within 1 year, he's beating Craig Morton out. And yeah, you know what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Guess who's in the shotgun?
Yeah, no, exactly.
And they're putting him in motion. Every dadgum bit of that I was wanting him to do, 3-4 years later, when Craig Morton, Don Meredith, and myself were all gone, and he had Roger Staubach, he goes, "Well, Roger, I'm going to do this." And he went.
So you coached with obviously, well, I don't know, was Tom Flores one that you coached with was he with Seattle at the time when you were with him, or is that later on? I know.
No. Jack Patera was the head coach.
And then you had Joe Gibbs though. You coached with Joe Gibbs. You were
that was at the Redskins.
Yep. Obviously, you mentioned Landry. Golly, I mean you've had some guys. Was the Rams? That was right as they were about to be really good in the late '90s. You've been a part of some coaches in your career, haven't you?
Yes, you know what? I had two coaches that nobody ever realizes that I was with. One of them was my father, who was my high school coach, and in high school we ran the spread formation, just like we're talking about right now. That everybody's running, the quarterback back there with the back, and you got guys split out. We were running guys in motion, and we were running guys behind the line of scrimmage. We were running bootlegs and quarterback draws. My father was doing all that in high school with me. And it took me, I ended up making high school All-American, and I played in the high school All-American game and was MVP and all that kind of stuff. I went to, where did we play at? Went down to Baton Rouge and played there in the high school All-American game. When I went to the Tulsa, they hired Sammy Ball. Sammy Ball coached me in college and lived in the dormitory room next to me. How would you like to have that?
Yeah, golly, cool. As good as it ever was played. Yeah.
And about 9:30, 10 o'clock, he'd start hammering on the wall. And that meant for me to come over and visit him.
That was his. So it was Morse code in a way.
Go bang, bang, bang. And so I had a roommate. He goes, well, there's your coach calling you again. And I went, yeah, well, I'm going over there too.
Yeah.
I'd sit in there with him, and he'd sit there and get on that board, and he just was like a machine. And he could hit a spittoon all the way across the room. Big old wad of tobacco in his mouth, and his language was awful. It was atrocious, the words he would say. Not bad English, just cuss words. But I just kind of closed my ears on that part, but I listened to him, I wrote everything down, and that's where I really learned. He was something else. He was brilliant.
Hey, Jerry, we appreciate the trips down memory lane again. Last week was fantastic, so good. We wanted to bring you back on the Brian Piccolo and all that, and also helping us with Steve Largent as well. Stay safe, and we might be in touch again one day down the road and have you kind of look at what's going on today and how they're playing football today and get your opinion on that as well.
Well, right now they're not playing too much, but when they start up, I stay up with it, and I love it, and so many things they're doing right now. And I'll just say one thing. I know y'all going, but I've got I don't want to name them all, about 6 quarterbacks in that league right now that I had trained through the years when I wasn't coaching anymore. I was just doing it on the side, and their agents were paying me to train them, and they're in the league.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's fun.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys, for having me on your show, and I appreciate it. Okay.
Yes, sir. You too, Jerry. I can't wait to pick your brain again. Jerry Rome with us from Tulsa University. The trips down memory lane, and how about the story about Brian Piccolo and all the things he brought up there? He played with the Cowboys, Browns, Oilers, Rams, and Alouettes of the CFL. Coached with Seattle, Washington, San Diego, Dallas, Phoenix, Minnesota, the Oilers, Rams, Falcons, and Vikings.
He had if you were to put together, like, let's say a coaching tree type of thing, just the amount of branches that he's been connected to or connected with, and the amount of legends and just prominent figures that he's come across, played with, played against, coached for, whatever. Man, he's an encyclopedia of football knowledge, and it's really cool, especially to hear about Brian Piccolo, because so many people just know of the movie. As you can hear Jerry say, like, the movie was fine, but they really didn't need to gussy it up much. It was the true story itself, but that's Hollywood for you. But, yeah, that's a movie that I constantly see, like, what's the one sports movie that makes you cry? And like nearly unanimously, it's always Brian's song.
No question.
Yeah, we were on Radio Row in New York. Dennis Leary was doing an interview like right behind us because he was in that movie Draft Day, and he was telling him, like, they asked him that question, and the guy's like, I didn't cry in Brian's song, and he went, like, he just tore into the guy.
Oh, really?
Like in true Dennis Leary fashion. He was like, what is the matter with you?
Yeah. By the way, our next guest, Corey Diaz, who writes for the News Star, some background on exactly what came into the decision, and a couple of quotes from Skip Holtz as well after we had Ben Carl on at the start of the show. On one of the text line, or actually on Sikkim365.com, BU Bear in Arkansas. Great interview to start the show. At least we have Sikkim 365 Radio. Thanks. Also, we mentioned Mac Rhodes will join us at 5:20. Bear since 2010. I said, listen, all I know now is that there's nothing new as far as a replacement game for next week. That is a work in progress. It may not happen. He said, I hope that he sounds at least optimistic a makeup game could happen, and we'll see what happens with there. I just saw a couple of players who put out sick KU, which, of course, right now is the next game on their schedule. So Corey Diaz of the News Star out of Louisiana will join us on Louisiana Tech, the decision to back out of the game, and much more. Mac Rhodes at 5:20. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine is a hidden gem. I'll just say it's a treasure on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street in Waco. If you are looking for the best in craft beer, that's where it is. If you are looking for some balcones, they've got it, and they get all the new releases pretty darn quickly, if not the first right off the truck. Also, just any kind of wine that you want. If you need a pairing, see, sometimes you're going to somebody's house and you don't know, like, I don't know what wine goes with what food. I just know what people give me. So I'll go and they'll say they're serving seafood. And they give you a nice, I'm guessing, some sort of a white that goes with seafood. But you can ask them those questions and they'll give you good ideas. Or you ask, somebody, I have a friend, she likes Moscato. I've only had it like 2 times, so I couldn't tell you what a good one is. I just know that I've tried it once or twice. They can give you the tips on that. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem, like I said, on North 19th Street, family-owned and operated. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Corey Diaz, Louisiana Tech knowledge and ramblings on Grambling State as well, plus high school football. The new star, he's a guy who covers a lot of Tech. We've had him on the show before to discuss when Baylor and Louisiana Tech was confirmed as the one non-conference game. And, of course, lots have changed the last 16 to 18 hours. And he joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio with Craig Paul and David Smoke. So, Corey, this seems like this is simmering. Hurricane Laura obviously ended up being a major cause of what happened with the flare-ups. What has been the mood from your perspective in Ruston and around Louisiana Tech football?
First off, guys, appreciate you having me back on. It's good to get back and revisit with you guys. Sorry we couldn't be talking X's and O's today, but yeah, just from having a couple of conversations with different sources that I have, not only within Louisiana Tech's football program, but kind of those on the outside as well. There's it's a sense of just overall disappointment, right? Because leading up to Hurricane Laura, that arrived here in North Louisiana on the morning of August 27th. When you look at the protocols that Louisiana Tech had placed on the football team, during the 3 weeks prior to that, they administered 350 tests within the football program, and it only had yielded one positive test. And so the direction that we were going, obviously leading up into game week this week, there was a lot of there's a lot of confidence about being able to load up the buses and drive over to Waco this coming weekend to kick the season off. And and then when the storm come through, 95% of the town of Ruston is without electricity, without running water. The football players had to, Skip called it today in this afternoon in his Zoom call with the media. He called it "quote unquote" survival mode. It was, I don't know if I'm sure we've all at some point have been inside of our house, apartment, or a dwelling of some sort during the summer with no air conditioning, and it's 90 degrees in there, and it's really unbearable. So they, a lot of the players, they've got 50 that live off campus. Most of those guys are upperclassmen on the football team, and they had to find ways to readjust. And with a lot of teammates and whatnot living in dorms on campus, which campus fortunately never lost power. They had to find ways to keep cool and to be able to eat food and take showers and it's almost as if the protocols that they had to place on the football team to ensure to keep the COVID-19 numbers down, you almost had to kind of put them to the side in a way, just to be able to, to have the necessary amenities to go about your day. And, it was an unfortunate happening. A lot of people in and around Louisiana Tech's football program right now are widely disappointed. But in the grand scheme of things, this is for player safety, which I think is the right call, which Skip also said was the right call, why he felt like he needed to make the call to, try to postpone the game this weekend. And, when you're looking down at your depth chart on a Tuesday night, 3 or 4 days away from playing a football game, and you have 38 scholarship football players available plus 9 walk-ons, you can't compete, and especially, when you factor in the game being nationally televised on network television, and you're playing a Power 5 opponent. There was just no way that from the Louisiana Tech vantage point that this game this weekend would have been able to happen.
How concerned is the program that this could linger a couple of weeks and prevent them from playing, maybe not just this week, but next week and maybe further down the line?
I think with what we're all dealing with, with the virus, and there not being kind of a medical manual with how to deal with this. There's certainly concern that this could be a multi-week thing that the football program is going to have to deal with. But 30 of the 36 that came back positive that were reported last night, those guys had already been within self-quarantine and self-isolation for days before last night. So Skip told us earlier today that they could get as many as 30 guys back onto the team, back inside the facility building and on the practice field come next week before they would get on the bus and go over to Hattiesburg and try to play at Southern Miss. But where the concern lies is they tested the guys that would have been available to play this weekend this morning, and so they're expecting to get those results back from those tests either tomorrow night or early Friday morning. And what are the numbers going to be out of this latest round of tests? And so you don't know. It's all about being able to manage your depth chart. It's roster management. It's getting guys adequate reps on the field to get them game ready. And it's, you're going to be crunched for time, but if you're able to have certainly a few more kids than 47 that'll be eligible to play in a football game, I think Louisiana Tech, as well as with the assistance of Southern Miss. They're both of these programs, with them being within Conference USA with each other, obviously gives them a lot of leeway in the event that the game was not able to happen next weekend. They could probably shift some things around or find a date somewhere in the future that they would be able to move the game to. But I know as of right now, both parties are at the table and they're actively working really hard to ensure that both teams will be able to play in Hattiesburg next weekend.
Corey, is this a pretty big financial blow for La Tech not getting this game in, or is it something that will be pretty easy to manage overcoming?
Well, I know that this was this was kind of the first. This is going to be the first game of a 2-1 that the two schools had worked on a few years ago. And I know Tech, the payout for Tech to come and visit Tech or come visit Baylor this year was going to be $500,000. But and I know a lot, in these game contracts, you have essentially like cancellation fees, right? Well, Baylor's, at least from everything that I've been told, Baylor's not going to hold Louisiana Tech accountable for having to postpone this game due to something that was out of their control. And it's going to be, and that's the thing too, guys. I'm sure you guys have had lots of conversations about this over the last few weeks. This isn't going to be the last game this season that's probably going to get postponed and or canceled due to COVID-19. So it's certainly possible that at some point during the year, Louisiana Tech might have an opponent that's not going to be able to play a weekend. And if it falls on the same weekend that Baylor would have an opponent that couldn't do the same, I think both parties are more than willing, once they find that stuff out, to come to the table and try to get a deal done as quick as possible, to get all the logistics nailed down and be able to play, on that shared, unforeseen open date. So, it obviously losing $500,000 for an athletic department the size of Louisiana Tech is certainly it's kind of a hit. But they're throughout the course of all this, there's been a myriad of financial things that they have implemented to kind of help stave off as much of a financial ramification as possible. So I know that that's one of the reasons why this Baylor game this year, which is why they fought so hard to be Baylor's, one non-conference opponent this year, because, certainly they need the money. But I think in the grand scheme of things, making sure, your football players and your student athletes and your coaching staff and support staff are healthy, it has got to be priority number one in any case.
Hey, Corey, thanks, man. We had you scheduled for today to talk about X's and O's and all that, but obviously that was blown up with what happened, Hurricane Laura, COVID, and all that. We wish you the best where you are and everyone recovering from the damage, and hopefully La Tech gets everyone, at least a bunch of players, back Saturday and next week as well, and they get to play that game against Southern Miss. It's weird because I got a text from the SID, Ashley, I think her name. She said to me, hey, I'm working on Coach Holtz for tomorrow. This was yesterday afternoon, like mid-afternoon. and then I was on another show out of Louisiana, and I'm thinking everything's going well, right? And then, oh, well,
Yeah. If you had asked me this time yesterday, because we had this time yesterday, we'd maybe been an hour off from getting off of our weekly press conference.
Yep.
You could ask me 24 hours ago, I'd say, man, I can't wait to see all you guys in Waco this weekend. It's going to be a fun time.
Good luck, man. Good luck covering it down the stretch. Appreciate your time, Corey. Corey Diaz with the News Star covers Louisiana Tech like a blanket. Appreciate his time and also a perspective from their side of it. When we come back, Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. John Machota on the Cowboys at 5. And 5:20, Baylor Athletic Director Mack Rhodes. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Just tell me.
Waco Custom Marketplace.
I had it. Something's buried here. Waco Custom Marketplace, where you could order. There's no tailgating now. There wasn't going to be any around McLean Stadium. There was going to be tailgating at Brazos Parking. So now jot down September 26th, Kansas. And maybe something changes for next weekend. Who knows?
I think that if you already plan on doing it, use this as your preseason game. Stretch it out. Test everything out. Dry run.
Yeah, just go out there and have a tailgate at Brazos Parking, right? And just go for it. And then Waco Custom Marketplace is absolutely your go-to place when it comes to tailgate food. You can order, pre-order, custom order, whatever you want. You can get that done. Wake up and smell the kolaches every single morning. If you need something as simple as milk, they now have that, of course, in stock as well. Waco Custom Marketplace, where they have a butcher shop and a bakery, old-fashioned grocery store atmosphere, and all of everything in between. Sauces, seasonings, much more. There's things you have which is just like casserole boxes from like Betty Crocker. And then on top of that, you could find much more when it comes to maybe you just want to make some sort of queso and beef or whatever for some kind of appetizer. But if you want to get right down to the beef, customized steaks, you could get them cut by them, hamburger, beef, and patties, or you can get brisket and tri-tip or seafood or poultry, or also at the same time pork. And the bakery is amazing. I mentioned the kolaches and all sorts of other delicious treats and Texas sweets as well. It's Waco Custom Marketplace plus cold beer and wine. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneeredboys.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
What season is it? It's truck season at Allen Samuels. Ram trucks are raring to go, ready to work and play, and all feature the best deals of the year during Ram Power Days. Come get your brand new Ram Lone Star at Allen Samuels with 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $9,250 in bonus cash and incentives. Ram, the highest pickup owner loyalty in America. Shop, apply, buy online. We deliver. Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This segment with Olin Buchanan of TexAgs.com is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, with over 40 group exercise classes Monday through Sunday on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Every Wednesday at this time, Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com, as they continue what they're doing and for their game that starts the last weekend of this month. Olin, thanks for your time. Paul Catalina, David and Craig Smoke with us as well. Olin, there's a lot of things A&M has that's pretty good that's coming back, but is this one of the more seasoned offensive lines they've had in quite some time? Because they were cranking out guys who were NFL high picks left and right there, it seemed like, in the early part of the decade.
Well, yeah, in 2012, they probably had the best offensive line in school history. Every player on the line was playing the NFL, and 3 of them were first-round draft choices. And this line is seasoned, but not as good as that one. But yeah, there's we expect four seniors in the starting offensive line, and then the sophomore Kenyon Green started as a true freshman. He's moving from right guard to left guard. I don't know. I think that's just to set him up for next year when we play left tackle. But yeah, as far as experience goes, that's a very seasoned offensive line with, I guess, three of the guys have been, they'll be in their third year as starters.
Olin, obviously 2 weeks to go still before the first game. And I know that a lot of schools like A&M haven't been, really forthright with their COVID reporting, but do you have a sense of how it's going around the program with them?
Yeah, we asked Jimbo Fisher about that just last week, and he said they had no positives. So and they hadn't had any since they actually started the fall camp. So one of the things that he was, I think, most proud of the team was that everybody was really focused and understood what's at stake this year, and was reacted the way you want them to, in the weight room, obviously, and then with their approach to practice and everything, but also to, following the guidelines that they set out to try to minimize the threat of COVID.
Oh, I know this is hard probably to answer because we don't have eyes out there like we would normally have, but we just saw Navy get decimated a few nights ago, and, their coach came out afterward and said, hey, we didn't get real physical in practices. We weren't tackling each other or anything like that. Do you have any idea of just kind of what Jimbo Fisher's philosophy has been as far as physicality and things like that in preparing?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if A&M hasn't been hitting. In fact, they've had some injuries. Jimbo's a hard-nosed guy, and he wants a physical team. So even though I haven't been out there, it's been my understanding that they're practicing the way they always would, which means that there's a fair amount of live action going on and hitting. They had a scrimmage just last Saturday, and so there was from my understanding, of course, it wasn't open to anybody, but my understanding is it was just like a game. So obviously, there was some contact going on.
Yeah, that's interesting because and you saw what happened with Baylor, right? Baylor and La Tech, that game, and here we are. Like, you guys are waiting a long time, the SEC, before you play a game, and we feel like we've waited a long time as well with the ups and downs of decisions by the conferences. Can you imagine another 2 weeks from now you're finally about to play a game and then all of a sudden you get it shut down?
Yeah, hopefully it won't come to that, but I don't think you can take anything for granted here, actually, out there on the field, and maybe not even then, because I've seen, if you go back to basketball, there were games that they stopped when teams were ready to play. That said, I know Vanderbilt had some issues, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, but I think they're back to practicing. Tennessee, they just canceled practices for quite a while. I think it was last week they had a bunch of positives come back. So you're hoping it's going to go off as scheduled, and all indications right now are that you will. But, I just don't think you can take it for granted. But right now it looks good.
Olin, how big a year are you expecting from Isaiah Spiller?
I think Isaiah Spiller, he just came up short of 1,000 yards last year. Wasn't supposed to play. Injuries forced him to play, and then, quite frankly, he was better than the guy who was Jayshon Corbin's backup. So he got into the lineup, and then he went through the. I guess I don't want to call it hitting the freshman wall, but he got that SEC baptism when he finds out the linebackers are a lot faster than they used to. And he struggled for about 3 games and then adapted. So I think he's 1,000 yards back. I really do. I think he's a good player. And on top of that, he really responded to understanding what he needed to do. Did a lot of work in the weight room, changed his body somewhat. I think he's going to be, he's not the fastest guy. He's not that guy like Devon Achane that they have coming in here, or some of the guys that, I think Lake Seastrunk a few years ago at Baylor was a real fast guy. So I don't think he's going to be that kind of guy, but he's fast enough, and I think he's gotten stronger. He's good at quick moves, and I think he's going to be their starting running back, and I think he's got a great shot at 1,000 yards, even in a 10-game all-conference schedule.
Olin, a player who created a lot of buzz or got a lot of buzz as a recruit was Damon DeMoss. I saw his name Scholar Athlete of the Week a couple of days ago by A&M, but what have been the early returns on him?
There's no doubt about his physical ability. It's off the chart. Go back, think about anybody that was really highly regarded receiver coming in as a freshman. I think of Julio Jones when he was at Alabama. I can think of Roy Williams when he went to Texas. And I think he's that kind of guy that can make that kind of impact. The question on him is how quickly he's going to be able to pick up the offense, understand what they want him to do. We asked about 2 weeks ago Jimbo Fisher about him. He said he's really smart, and he's having some really good days, and other days he's trying to figure it out. I would think he's so good that if you have to, you dumb down the offense a little bit, and have put in some plays where you just say, "Man, Damon, go deep," because he's a really special player, and I think he's going to be a great player for A&M as long as he stays healthy. And I would expect him. I'm not going to say he's going to go out there and be a 1,000-yard receiver this year, but I do think that he's going to leave here probably in 3 years as one of the best receivers that's ever come to A&M.
Olin, thanks for your time as always. Wednesdays at 4:45. Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com on A&M. Today we were hoping we have a segment Paul has recorded with Cedric Golden of the Austin American-Statesman on UT, but we've had to push it back, and we're going to run it. We were going to run it today at 5:20, but Mac Rhodes will be available following John Machota on the Cowboys. Who's next on Sikkim 365 Radio?
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Been telling you for a couple of months now about all the great deals they've got going on. Well, the summer savings event has ended, but it's the kickoff savings event now at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. All 2020 vehicles on their lot are priced to move now. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. During Richard Carr's kickoff savings event, qualified buyers will score huge savings like $8,000 off a 2020 GMC Sierra, or you can save $6,000 on the roomy 3-row 2020 GMC Acadia. They also have the Buick Enclaves. Those are $8,000 off right now. Comes with 3 rows, full of room and full of luxury. Again, $8,000 off the 3-row 2020 Buick Enclave. And, of course, there's the luxury and the style, the Cadillac brand. Let Richard Carr bring that Cadillac experience to you. Drive one of the exhilarating Cadillac SUVs like the 2020 XT4, XT5, or the 7-passenger XT6. You can get yours today, starting at only $35,900 at a Richard Carr Cadillac, or find one of the best sedan values on the market with the exhilarating Cadillac CT4, starting at $32,995. This kickoff savings event, all 2020 vehicles, priced to move now. And, of course, it's Richard Carr. So they have you in mind. They have your comfort and safety in mind. That's why they disinfect their showroom daily. That's why they can bring the test drive to your home. They are the people that you can count on. A local family dealer run by Baylor Bear alumni. They've got big selection, great prices, and free oil changes with a new purchase, plus VIP priority warranty service on all vehicles purchased at Richard Carr Motors. They stand by to support all customers with award-winning service. Find more information on all these great deals with a kickoff savings event and their great service as well online at richardcarr.com, or see them in person, Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom-ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lakeview Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma. And they have to come here. They're used to lights. They're used to water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Prescott gets it complete as Cooper takes it all the way.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. Cowboys and Rams, right, Paul? When do they play?
They play Sunday night.
I'm still a little bit not sure. I guess I should know.
Yeah.
Sunday night. I thought,
SoFi Stadium opened up to just the Cowboys and the Rams and nobody else.
So the home field advantage is gone, basically, at least in some NFL stadiums we know of.
By the way, I know we have John waiting, but are y'all seeing these pictures coming out of California and Oregon from the wildfires, orange and red skies that are going on right now? I don't know how much of an effect that has on L.A. Not much, I don't think, but, that's wild.
We've driven up through L.A. to Oxnard, and you can sometimes see the scars of what they've had to deal with, and good luck to them. And we're now joined by John Machota. TheAthletic.com covers the Cowboys. And John, there's been Dak Prescott interviews, and, of course, we're getting closer and closer now to game day. Let's start with players who have been at least not 100%. Who do you feel like that's not practiced enough or a lot will be okay to probably play Sunday night?
Well, right now it really comes down to the defensive backfield. And, you got guys like Chidobe Awuzie and Jordan Lewis and Xavier Woods. Those are the 3 main guys on the bubble defensively. And it doesn't look like Jordan Lewis is going to go, but the other 2 should be ready to go and play in that game. Obviously, that's huge because they need all the help they can on the back end. Amari Cooper's been one that's been kind of on the bubble because we've seen him on the resistance cords, I feel like, more than we've seen him in actual practice. But today we got to see him a little bit in individual drills, still doing the resistance cords. But it sounds like he was dealing with a hamstring issue. It sounds like he'll be a go for Sunday night too. So really, it looks like they're going to go into that game with pretty much a full 53-man roster. Well, they'll have 46 in the game, but a full go, except for really Jordan Lewis is the only one that probably won't be in there.
Well, on the offensive side of the ball, though, Lyle Collins, he's out for at least the first 3 weeks, and there was some kind of, he's going to be fine until he wasn't. Cam Irving, obviously, probably going to step in there. How confident are the Cowboys in Cam Irving?
I mean, they're saying they're confident because they have to, but I don't know how they could. Here's the thing. We've obviously seen how bad things can get when they don't have their top offensive tackles out there. We saw, a few years ago in Atlanta with Chaz Green, how that didn't work out very well. And so I feel like there's always some skepticism when you don't have Tyron or Lau. But, Cam Irving's been in the league for a while. He's played multiple positions. He was with the Super Bowl champs last year. My thing is with him is he hasn't had any preseason games. He started out, he was dealing with an injury issue as well to start camp. Just like, how ready is he going to be for, a full go against that, Rams front? So, they're going to say that they're fine and that they got this experienced tackle to play, but it's certainly going to be a drop-off from Lyle Collins.
John, how much did you and fellow Cowboys media members maybe roll your eyes at the Deshaun Watson news, given the long waiting game that has been Dak Prescott and the Cowboys trying to get a long-term deal done?
Yeah, it's specifically because of that. When training camp started, and those questions were asked of Jerry and Steven, they both mentioned, how the pandemic is, affecting negotiations in terms of like the uncertainty of next season and things like that. Well, this is, right after Patrick Mahomes signs his deal, Deshaun Watson obviously just gets his. Jalen Ramsey becomes the highest paid corner in NFL history today. Like, it's just hard to believe that was anything more than just a talking point to kind of, put something else out there that kind of makes it seem like it's not as bad as it is. But, it's not good. They're way better off having him signed than not having him signed. Their options of if they went in another direction certainly aren't going to be as good as Dak Prescott. So it is interesting that he's talked about it a little bit in interviews. I saw the one with Grant Bensinger. I tweeted earlier today about, what he had to say about that. Nothing really new, but it's just the fact that, they can't do any negotiating during the season. They have to wait until the season's over while he plays this year under the franchise tag. But, I would think that if things don't get done pretty early in this next offseason, we could be looking at a potential second franchise tag. And then if that's the case, then you're looking at like $38 million for the 2021 season. And that's certainly that's a lot of money to be paying for 1 year.
Dak Prescott's a very proud man and also gets it. He's represented this franchise as well as you can. There's no drama with him. The only drama might be his contract or whatever. And there are some that probably don't quite yet think he's the guy, even though I don't think there's any doubt. They can't do anything now. Do you feel like he will just be motivated by this, or do you feel like even though he doesn't seem like someone to get distracted, it could become a distraction?
No, I think he'll be motivated by this, and that's just because he's never really been looked at by everybody on the outside as the guy. There were doubters of him being the starting quarterback when he was in high school. There were doubters that thought he couldn't play at a major Division I level. Then he gets to Mississippi State, really puts Mississippi State on the map. They go down to Baton Rouge, they beat LSU, things that you wouldn't expect. And then it goes to the draft, and you're even before the draft, he was, to me, the best player in the Senior Bowl game that year, and really, he looked the part of a guy that could help you out in the NFL. Maybe not as a starter right away like he was, but maybe in a few years he could be a starter on a team. And then he goes and falls into the late fourth round. And I just think that he's been doubted so much in his life. I think that this is almost second nature to him, as opposed to maybe some guy that was the number one high school prospect and then the number one college prospect and then a top 5 NFL pick. That's never been his story. And he had to go into last year playing under that last year of his rookie deal, thinking that, he thought he'd get an extension before that year started, and he played some of his best ball. And so that's one thing I will say. I don't see this having a negative effect on him at all. If anything, it'll motivate him to play better.
Were you shocked to see Tristan Hill on the first team in that unofficial depth chart?
I mean, I wasn't shocked just because without Gerald McCoy, there aren't a lot of other options. I'm very interested to watch him play Sunday night because, you know, with them not having live practices, I mean, it's just hard to tell what you have in your defensive tackles. And Stephen Jones and Jim Tomsula, the defensive line coach, have talked up Tristan Hill, and they said all these good things about him. But I'm kind of in a believe it when I see it type mode. So we'll see a Sunday night what it looks like. I just don't know that he's going to come in there and just blow anybody away when you're watching the game and just go, now this is why they took him in the second round. I think he's improved from where he was last year, you know, but I don't think he's going to make anybody forget about, you know, Gerald McCoy or anything like that. So I think he's more so in the starting lineup because they're hoping that, you know, he continues to elevate his game and do all the right things. But at the same time, I also see this team in nickel and dime defense a lot of pass rushing situations, and I don't think he'll be out there for that. I think your tackles then will be, you know, more Don Terry Poe and Tyrone Crawford, while they're rotating on the edges, Everson Griffin, Alden Smith, and DeMarcus Lawrence. So it'll be interesting. I'm very intrigued. He's one of the top guys I'm interested in watching in this game, just because, I mean, Stephen Jones has talked him up so much. Like, you know, like I feel like fans are almost going to get like that. They're going to be watching some type of future Pro Bowler. You know, I kind of want to see it.
John, going back to the Dak interview you mentioned, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but and seen a lot of the tweets about it, not only from the contract talk, but apparently he got very emotional, right, talking about his brother's suicide. Did you get a chance to watch it already, and how emotional did that conversation get?
So I didn't actually get to see that part. See, this is what the way it isn't supposed to air, I think, until this weekend is what I heard.
Okay.
But the way it is on YouTube is it's broken down into like 3 to 5 minute clips, and so there's a lot of them. And so I watched one about his contract. I watched another one about, you know, the way he grew up, and I didn't get to the one yet about his brother. But from what I've read, yeah, it sounds like he got pretty emotional. That's the first time that he's really gone in depth in that on that topic because, you know, when we've gotten a chance to talk to him, you know, he talked briefly about it, but he didn't get really too much into it. And that's on a conference call. And I just don't know if you get the best answers on something like that, or it's the best place to do that on a conference call. Whereas in this thing, the one-on-one sit-down interview, you know, talk about touchy subjects and stuff like that. A conference call where you can't even see the people you're talking to, I don't know that is the best place for it. So I'm interested to watch that part of it because I heard that, yeah, it's pretty emotional, as I would expect it to be, because this is the thing. He's super close with both of his brothers, and he was, you know, super close to the one that passed, and I just can't imagine, you know, everything that was going on in his life and is still right now. I mean, obviously losing the mother at a very young age, and then losing your brother like that. I just, you know, I mean, he's been through a lot at a very young age that most people don't go through, you know, maybe in their whole entire lives. So I'm interested to see it, but I didn't watch that one yet.
John, thank you very much. We'll have, like, evidence, we hope, like X's and O's and stats and a win or a loss or something, or pure panic or exhilaration after a game Sunday. And next time we talk to you on Wednesday, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Enjoy the week.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to it as much as anybody.
I bet.
There just wasn't this. I was hoping for some more tackling on the ground in these training camps, and judging off of when our conversation today on a conference call with Sean McVay, the Rams coach, they aren't really tackling to the ground either. So it's going to be interesting. It could be real sloppy. It could be an ugly game, but it's going to be a game, and that's good enough for me.
Will you watch it and cover it from home, or will you be a part of? Is there any kind of travel party for the media?
So there is, and there are a few local reporters that are going out there. I will be making this trip. It's really because we're not going to get any locker room access. We're not going to get any of that behind-the-scenes access. So basically, if you're in the press box, you're going to get the same. You're going to be on the same calls that the rest of us that are back here covering it. So my plan right now is I'll be at every single home game, and I think as the season goes on, and maybe we see how this coronavirus goes, if it continues to go in the direction where it is now, in case it stay down, maybe that changes and I go to more road games. But as of right now, I know I'm not going to the first two.
Thank you, John. John Machota with us, theathletic.com, covering the Cowboys. Coming up next, Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes. Anything new on what happens now that La Tech is gone? That's next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
If you're on the market for a new home or trying to sell the one you have, you need to contact my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family, team brokered by eXp Realty. Buying a home is a very fun but very confusing and can be a very stressful thing. There's a lot of things that you know you want in a house, some things you think you want in a house, some things you don't want in a house, and all those come together, and some things you may not even know about the housing market. Well, that's why you need a realtor like Lance Donaldson to help you out. Lance is a great guy. He's going to find you a great listing. He's got lots of good listings on his website, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com, and you can go and look at what he's got right now, and he can help find you what you want. You might be thinking, well, I want to live here, here, and here. Well, he might know some places that are popping up, something new, something different. He can find that for you. 254-214-3713 or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
What season is it? It's truck season at Allen Samuels. Ram trucks are raring to go, ready to work and play, and all feature the best deals of the year during Ram Power Days. Come get your brand new Ram Lone Star at Allen Samuels with 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $9,250 in bonus cash and incentives. Ram, the highest pickup owner loyalty in America. Shop, apply, buy online. We deliver. Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, here we go. It's 5:20 on Sikkim 365 Radio. Mack Rhodes normally with us on Tuesdays. Yesterday was kind of busy. Today's not much better, and the next couple of days aren't going to get any better than that as Baylor tries to find out what they do with Law Tech no longer a part of, at least this week. Mack Rhodes joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. So what would you rather do? Have a game and you make it up next Saturday with somebody that you're going to find that's open, that's willing to play you, or would you rather find a slot later in the year and play Louisiana Tech if it's available?
Well, I think we would much prefer to play on the 19th and try to have some type of a game prior to opening up conference play against Kansas on the 26th. The news was hard for everyone, and particularly our student athletes. Right? They were excited, ready to play. You think about how long they've been practicing and under some unusual circumstances. And normally you were going to, open the season on the 5th. And then, now it's moved back to the 12th, and then the 12th gets canceled. And so now you've got to wait all the way to the 26th. And so that's hard, from that perspective. And then just from a football perspective, right, you'd at least like to have a game under your belt before you start conference play.
For games, a potential game on the 19th, would you have to maybe look at someone whose travel was more day of without a lot of, the normal logistics of a road trip?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think that would be probably best, most convenient, easiest to pull off. But we're looking at everybody, including someone that may have to get on a plane to get here. But there's not a lot of options, as you all know. I'm certain you all, and like many of our fans and all of my other friends have looked at everybody's schedule out there and has texted me all of the suggestions and impossibilities. And so, again, not a lot of them. And, we're in the process of trying to find somebody for the 19th.
Mac, I'm always interested in sort of the backstory on how things unfolded from the Baylor athletics perspective. When did this get on your radar as a possibility? And I guess, was it just a simple phone call to let you guys know that this wasn't going to be doable?
Yeah, Tommy McClellan, the athletic director at La Tech, is a good friend. And, we've had a relationship for many years. And, he called me, and, I'm trying to just remember the days now, but it may have been Sunday. And just to give me a heads up that they were just beginning to receive test results from a test on Thursday, and they had some more than usual positives, right, an uptick, and they had done a great job up until that point in time in terms of managing the disease and really controlling their environment and keeping their student athletes healthy, and so he just gave me a warning. And, at the time both of us still felt good about the game. And then the test, that they administered Sunday the necessary protocol as you go into game week, the 3 tests, Sunday, Wednesday, and the Friday. So the Sunday test, we were waiting for results, and they thought that they would receive those Monday, and unfortunately the lab wasn't able to do that, and so we knew that there wasn't a whole lot of room for error, meaning there couldn't be a whole lot of room for additional positives, and unfortunately, yesterday, later in the day, late afternoon, early evening, I got a call from him, and they had the additional positives, and just really, really difficult for them to play, and felt terrible for them. Certainly felt terrible for our student athletes and our fans. Just a really, really tough break, and who would have expected a hurricane to come in and to really impact them like it did, and losing power and water, and now their student athletes have to go find other places to live, and then all of a sudden you lose control in terms of who they're interacting with and who they're around. So just a really tough break. And I think yesterday my first thought was, who's ready for 2021? I know I am. So
I think everybody's ready for 2021. It's like, and it looks so positive. And you guys, what? I had a coach, one of the Baylor coaches, tell me. He said, we may have come off our best practice, and that's right before they then had a team meeting last night when they found out the game was canceled. So that was like, oh, okay, there's just another little dagger,
Yeah, it has ramifications for the league, right? We're intentional about playing the 9 plus the 1, and trying to do our best with our TV partners, and obviously always foundationally the health and safety of our young men first and foremost. But so it just it has implications across the board, not just for Baylor but for everyone. And so, like I said, we're going to do our best. We're going to do our best to try to find an opponent for the 19th, but certainly no guarantees or any promises.
When do you need? Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. Do you have a timeline on when you'd absolutely have to have a drop dead day of making the scheduling change?
Yeah, I think we'd like to have an idea by no later than end of day. Tomorrow. I think, you could possibly go into Friday, but, when you think about just prepping for a game and beginning to look at film, break down film, begin all of those preparations, right? You usually, have some of your staff begin to do that, that Thursday, that Friday, for that following week. And so, that would be, that would really be best case. Now, if we had to wait until, Friday or Saturday, I think it's something we'd still, try to pull off, but hopefully by end of day tomorrow.
Mac, what was Dave Aranda's reaction to the news? And you've obviously talked quite a bit about how well he's handled everything. And my gosh, what a book this will be, the first year as head coach and all the things that have taken place. But how has he handled it, and how has just everybody around the football department handled everything given the disappointment?
Yeah, I mean, we had been in conversation, obviously, and so he was disappointed, and I think like a parent, you're most disappointed for your kids, right? And so he was extremely disappointed for for our kids and for the staff. And one of the things we talked about, him and I, is, I mean, we've got to have some fun at some point in time, and it just feels like we haven't had any fun in a long time. And so I think, fun is certainly playing a game. And so, we'll try to do everything, like I said, to do that on the 19th. And if we can't, then we've got to figure out some other way just to have some fun and put some joy in our kids' lives and our staff, right, as well. So, everybody is in as good a spirits as they can be in the building, and it's kind of all right. What's up next? What's our next challenge to look forward to? But I'd be lying if I didn't say that there's disappointment, and this one was hard to swallow.
If I mention a school that may be open next week, will you tell me, confirm or deny, whether or not you've had conversations with them?
You too.
You can mention them, and I will probably completely deny. But go ahead.
East Carolina.
They would. Let me just put it this way: they would be on the list.
Florida International.
Not on my list.
Anybody in Texas?
One right now.
Houston Baptist.
They would be on the list.
Okay, I'm not going to put you more on that because I'm running out of options. All right, now you want to have.
There's not a lot of them. But,
well, it's not going to be anybody in the SEC, and it's not a Big 12 team. So we're trying. And I'll tell you what, our site and our Daily Bears, they both kind of did a summary. It was great trying to pick and choose. Okay, you want to have fun?
Yes, sir.
I know you're. So Dave Aranda, I get a chance to visit with him on Mondays, and we've got to get this settled. Paul, do you have Mac? You're going to have to take a deep breath here. This is Dave Aranda. A question for Dave Aranda.
How many Fig Newtons do you eat a day?
No more. Yeah. So since that came out, I know that Mac. I don't know if he's hiding them from me. He may be, but we don't get them anymore.
What?
So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
The Fig Newtons. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a controversy I'll bring up with him tomorrow. My last question, other than family,
and he would appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Are you laughing?
I am laughing.
I'm trying to turn this into something. I know my guys here, they're telling me I'm making something out of nothing. But this is important.
You are big on this Fig Newton controversy. You really are.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and I've got to talk to Cody Hall, who controls our budget, but apparently there's only enough money for Fig Newtons for one person. We have secretly diverted them to another place other than Coach Aranda's office.
What is it? Look, hey, Mac, these are tough times. I mean, we gotta
budget control, absolutely, cost reduction. So
you said you wanted to have fun, right? All right.
Well,
I guess.
By the way,
yeah.
Fig Newtons are in the top 10.
Yeah,
you cannot go wrong with them.
Yeah,
so.
Mine would be Oreo cookies. Oreo would be the first one. I don't know what
double stuff.
Hey,
absolutely.
Will, whatever you do, let's say you do find a game. You mentioned East Carolina, Houston Baptist, and maybe a couple of others that might be out there. Will you have to pay them the same amount you would have paid La Tech, or you have to pay them more because of the circumstances?
Yeah, I don't know yet. It's a great question, and we know that we had the money to pay La Tech, and I'm not sure we have any more than that. So we're in the process of working through that. So there's probably candidly 5 that we're having conversation with, and we'll see. We'll see where it lands. And, I'm not sure that, everybody is interested. And just because they're open and they're available doesn't necessarily mean that they're interested. And, they're like everybody else. They're trying to do what's best for their program and, give themselves the best opportunity to win and be successful. So, but we'll get through it, and we'll be ready to play, whether it's on the 19th against unknown opponent or or on the 26th versus KU.
Mac, a non-football note from this week. Jared Butler was named to the NCAA Oversight Committee, one of just 2 players named to that committee. What does that say about him, and how big of a deal is that for the athletic department to have one of your young athletes, young men, being looked at and awarded a role like that?
Yeah, well, first, they could have chosen no better student athlete, right? He is the epitome of student athlete, and just everything that's great and wonderful about college athletics. And so, happy, thrilled for him. I think it's certainly terrific for Baylor University. When they asked for recommendations and then followed up with a phone call, I couldn't have said, anything more about him. And as well as Coach Drew. And again, he is a perfect student athlete to be on and serve on that committee, and will represent Baylor, but represent just student athletes in general, and college basketball in a great manner. So happy for him.
Mac, thanks for your access. I know that things are just wild right now. Appreciate you coming on, and appreciate your transparency on who you might be talking to as well. Thank you. Good luck with that.
All right. Thank you, guys. You take care.
All right,
Bye-bye.
you too. All right, so he confirmed there's about 5 teams, he said, candidly. Houston Baptist is one. The only school out of Texas would be them. He said East Carolina. I mentioned Florida International.
He said
not them. So there's others, and I know there's this massive list out there. So that, again, one's in state and one's going to be more of a long travel.
Yeah.
But at least there's options, at least not options that's automatic. There's work to be done. A lot of work. But he said by what, Friday late afternoon?
Well, so we know Houston Baptist and East Carolina are possibilities. And then he said, around 3 other schools? And there could be, 4, there could be 2. I mean, depending on how but I guess they're looking at potentially around 3 other schools, correct? Is what he said?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, there's at least some options there. But he did say we would prefer to play on the 19th, have some type of game to open up before conference play versus rescheduling Louisiana Tech at a later date. And I was looking at La Tech's schedule, and I don't know how much really room they have that coincides with Baylor to be able to make that happen, unless it were to happen well after what would normally be conference championship weekend. It would have to be the end of the year, which I don't know if either one would really want to do that. So hopefully by the end of tomorrow is what he said, but even could go into potentially Friday and potentially Saturday, but it sounded to me like they'd really like to know by tomorrow and, at worst by Friday. I don't think they really want to drag this into the weekend, but I guess they would leave it a little bit open if need be.
What do you think is going to happen, guys?
I think they're going to find an opponent. I have nothing to base that off of other than just that there are at least some options out there. So I think they're going to do everything possible to try and make this happen. And, if they can't do it, they can't do it. But they're going to try. So I'm going to just assume that, they're going to be able to get it done. But we will see.
People need money. I mean,
yeah,
he said, playing more, but I think if you didn't have $450,000 today, and Baylor called up and said, do you want $450,000 now? Unless you had a ridiculous overhead that you couldn't meet and say, it just wouldn't be worth it for us to make that long trip, I think you'd probably say yes, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I just put were and we're, and I just misspelled that. Damn it, W-E-R. I was trying to get it up. But, yeah, I think, what did Corey say? Corey said it was $500,000, the money that La Tech was going to get. I think you're going to have to pay him at least that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would think Houston Baptist makes a lot of sense just because they could drive up. I don't know how it really works with buses and how all of that goes. But, I mean, they would have a much easier time getting here than just about anybody. So, we'll see what happens.
When we come back, maybe your reaction to this, 254-339-1122. Also,
do we need, I've got Cedric Golden set to run here, and I really would love it if we didn't push this back into the day.
Austin American statesman Cedric Golden. But if you want to, we'd love to get your feedback on the text line. Brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, 254-339-1122. T-Rex is saying 99% sure it's going to be East Carolina based on Mac's reaction. We will find that out. And we need to know by Friday, right? This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. It's truck season over there at the dealership on Loop 340 and east of 84. Ram truck. Hold all of your gear. Pull all of your trailers and ATVs. At Alan Samuels, it's truck season. That means it's time for Ram Power Days. Fantastic deal, an amazing Ram Lone Star Crew Cab. Decked out with plenty of options, including big old Hemi. Get $97.50 in bonus cash and incentives, or you can choose 0% financing for 72 months, no payments for 90 days with approved credit. Ask for details. Jeep Adventure Days, Jeep Gladiator Sport, now with 3.9% financing for 72 months, no payments for 90 days. If you're looking for the perfect Jeep for in-town as well as great outdoors, how about the new Jeep Cherokee or Jeep Renegade? 2020 Cherokees feature 0% financing for 72 months, no payments for 90 days, or choose up to $6,000 in bonus cash and incentives. And the Renegade, 0% financing for 72 months, or you can choose up to $5,750 in bonus cash and incentive. You can hear it. There are incentives, there are bonuses, there are discounts, there are great opportunities. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is Paul Catalina's College Football Focus.
Ellinger
Sam. Into LSU territory, inside the 40, chased out of bounds at the 35. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Horns.
SicEm 365 Radio, our Big 12 tour continues. My old friend Cedric Golden from the Austin American Statement joins us now. And the Texas Longhorns, year in, year out, there's the hype. Cedric, you know the hype. You live it. You're there. You've been around it, and they have not met it in a long time. And again this year with the most experienced quarterback in the Big 12 coming back. Well, I guess he and Charlie Brewer, one of the most coming back. And when Sam Ehlinger, you've got all that coming back. You've got Tom Herman, entrenched in the program now. Is this the year that they can, at least through all of this madness that we've had, look like a team that can live up to what people want?
You know what, Paul? It's such a 2020 is such a different, unique set of challenges for everybody. But on paper, Paul, it should be the year that Texas maybe breaks through. For the first time in I don't know when, the Oklahoma Sooners don't have a Heisman Trophy candidate at quarterback. Unless this young Spencer Rattler just wows everybody, he hasn't played. So I think Texas, with Sam Ehlinger being the most experienced QB, maybe possibly in the whole country, with all of those starts, good talent on the outside, a loaded backfield. And so I think, and an experienced offensive line. We all know the Big 12 is still largely an offensive conference. So everyone's going to have some struggles on defense. That's just part of the landscape. But if you look at it on paper, you have to have Texas up there. Hasn't won a Big 12 title since 2009 when they lost to Alabama in the national championship game. Colt McCoy going down early here at the goal line. So this has got to be it. If ever there were a year for Texas to unseat Oklahoma and hold off really good young teams like Oklahoma State and Baylor, this would be the year.
For Tom Herman, he had to change a lot of his coaching staff, a good chunk of them last year. When does he start to feel the turn of the screws of the fans? Because you can only change assistants so many times. Mac Brown found that out the hard way.
Well, that's so true. And to bring in 7 new assistants, I just let you know, Paul, you're not going to be allowed to do that again. The next time there's an overhaul, his name's probably going to be on the chopping block. Now, he is 3-0 in bowl games. That bodes well for him. He's also he's also got a really good recruiting record. He's had top classes. So I think that he's in pretty good shape. I like the new hires, particularly I like Chris Ash as the DC and Mike Yurcich as the OC. Very rarely, sometimes when you see a team change coordinators, like they bring in 2 new coordinators, sometimes that means they've been really good. Like Oklahoma, where guys leave for jobs, better for head coaching jobs. But in this case, to follow a 10-7 with 5 losses, that doesn't. A 10-4 with 5 losses didn't count for improvement in my book. So I think they did take a step back last year. I think Tom noticed that, and I think Tom knew he had to make changes. Now, whether or not these changes meld together and are cohesive enough for him to take and win a Big 12 title, Paul, that remains to be seen. I like the hires, but we'll see if they'll be able to overcome these unique challenges that 2020 has presented.
Is part of the challenge that Tom Herman has with the new staff, letting the new staff have a little bit more control when it comes to play calling, especially when you're at Houston, maybe you can do all that stuff, but when you step into, the 40 acres, you've got kind of a different life, and letting your assistants run with it is usually, the way to get successful in Austin.
Yeah, I think so, and I think bringing in Yurcich, who has a proven track record, he knows these Big 12 streets. He was one of the guys that developed Mason Rudolph at Oklahoma State, and so he knows what he's doing, and he knows Big 12 defenses, and Tom respects them, and I really think that Tom might take on a little bit more of a, where he's disseminating to the other, letting the other guys do their deal. And I don't know. I think anytime we ask him about play calling, he always says, well, it's a collaborative effort. And he said this to us a couple of weeks ago. It's not Mike Yurcich's offense. It's the University of Texas offense. So he will have his nose in that role.
Yeah.
But I think he does trust Yurcich to make good play calls. The head coaches don't always have the final say. But when you're able to hand it off and be more of the overseer and know that you have the confidence that a offensive coordinator can get it done, I think that helps the whole sum of the parts.
This offseason has seen this year has seen, social justice initiatives, racial unrest, and everything that's going on in our country. Some coaches have not handled it well. Like Mike Gundy, stepped right in it early on in the summertime. Tom Herman, though, appears to have really handled this well, especially considering that the Texas players were kind of some of the first to all come together as a group to kind of say, these are some things that we would like to see. How do you feel he's navigated that in a time where you can make what is seemingly, some coaches like Mike Norvell at Florida State, an innocent statement and realize that, no, I've kind of stepped into a hornet's nest here of not understanding what I'm really talking about?
I think he's done a great job of it. I think Texas was at the forefront of this whole thing. They marched as a team with some security personnel, some police officers, early on in this pandemic and showed a sense of togetherness and unity at a time when the country was really going through it on several levels. And so what that does, Paul, is that kind of, as if I don't know that he needed it or not, but it ups his locker room cred. He's able, those guys know, hey, Coach marched with us. We saw Nick Saban marching through campus with his kids this past week. So Tom did that 2 months ago. So they're at the forefront of it. And not only does it send a message to his players, say, look, Coach has our back. But somewhere in the state of Texas, there's some kids, a lot of them from inner cities going, you know what, I could play for this guy. So it's really hard to mess it up. I know Mike Norvell did. Oh my God, he stepped into it, and the mullet, Mike Gundy with the OAN shirt. I mean that was a beehive, and so Tom handled it very well, as did Nick Saban, as has Dabo Swinney, and they've kind of come to the realization that these kids are no longer robots, where you just wind them up and you make them lift weights and you make them go run wind sprints and then you make them play football. No, back when we were young, Paul, the kids in these teams, they kind of needed the newspaper, they kind of needed the radio. These programs needed us to help get their message out, to help promote whatever messages, and so. As it is today, all these kids need is an Instagram account or a cell phone. If they want a message out there, they can just post it on their own. So they don't really need the mainstream media as much. Now, if you're looking for honest perspective and non-homerism, you still got to come holler it up. You still got to come holler at Smokey. You still got to come holler at Ted Golden or Kirk Bowles or Bryce Cherry. We're going to give you the real perspective on what we believe is going on, and we're not in it to be liked. We're in it to inform our readers in an honest way.
One of my favorite guys to talk to, Cedric Golden, here with us on Sick 'Em 365 Radio as our Big 12 tour continues.
All right, Cedric Golden. He's throwing it down at the end. I heard my name in there. It makes me nervous,
No, he said that he said the one thing that he was talking about players on Twitter, and he said that the players should learn that the people they do need to go to for real information is actual journalists and not other players, right? Because you can fall into a Twitter hole. I mean, and this is, I think, a Sick 'Em 365 tenet of our show of don't fall into a Twitter hole. Be careful what you do. Craig, we should sponsor a segment of Craig tells you what Twitter hole to avoid today.
I'm just trying to help people, man, honestly. Yeah. It's like the Kansas thing I pointed out earlier. I mean, don't mistake tons of retweets and tons of likes for actual factual information, because if you were going off of that KU reporter's report earlier, the one that got the most attention, then you missed the most important piece of information, and that's that there's not like dozens of KU football players who are currently dealing with COVID, which you would have believed. You would have thought it was about 15 guys are dealing with it. Instead, it's 3. It's 3.
I just think the logic in getting all your news from Twitter
is
terrible, look, if they give you a link, read the link. Like, go to the full story. Think about if Walter Cronkite had to do all of his stories in 140 characters.
Oh, man.
You know, like, we put men on the moon.
There's things called
That's
nuance.
It. That's all you
Yeah, there's things called nuance and, details and things like that. So you got to be really careful out there. I'm just trying to help people with little tips as I see it, because – I mean, it is beneficial, but there's a lot of dumb that people get caught up in or bad information. But we got some really good information from Macros, that's for sure. I'm seeing a lot of people buzzing over, who they could potentially play. So somebody I don't know if this is just some random guy who saw my tweet, but he said, "Play Northwestern State, you cowards." So there's quite a few people who are already commenting on the potential opponents Mac laid out. And, we'll see where it goes.
By the way, let's see here. This is from Dean Blevins, former quarterback at Oklahoma, now in television. Continue hearing NCAA expected to inform Oklahoma mid-afternoon Thursday of appeal decision RE 6 now 5-game suspensions of talented trio of Sooners. Interestingly, I don't know who at 7, Ronnie Perkins, listed first team on today's Game 1 depth chart. Stevenson and Bridges, the running back and wide receivers, are second team either or. Those are the guys, I guess they got caught up in something, and they might not be playing the opening game against, what is it, like Missouri State or someone like